now. Okay,
Okay.
hello people. This is impromptu stream. I'm always open to the public and ready to answer any of your questions that you may have about me or involvement with the Canadian Nationalist Party. As it seems like most people tend to not really want to actually take advantage of that invitation, but Mr. Pelu here actually went out of his way today and wanted to talk to me. So, hello, Mr. Pelu. How are you today?
Doing great. Doing great.
Good. So, what questions do you have with me and my involvement, or anything that comes to mind? I would like
Okay.
clarity.
Okay. First and foremost, I just want to get to know you two first. I want to learn a little bit about your history and how you get involved in Canadian National, because I don't know anything. I don't know anything. Be honest with you.
Okay.
I I know you through a mutual somebody that we both mutually know, Claire. She told me to reach out to you. She said that we will probably have a lot to talk about, right? And
Okay.
and I don't know if you've been watching Claire's content over the last 2-3 months.
No, I have not.
Okay. That's
Hmm.
interesting because
Hmm.
I've been steady streaming her. I mean, I'm new to Claire's channel. I'm new to streaming. I'm new to all of this. I just started this
Okay.
a couple of months ago with Claire. I started streaming her about 2.5 months ago at most. I don't even know if it's like at most 2.5 months ago. I haven't been
Hmm.
whole 3 whole months yet. And we've been
Hmm.
streaming regularly for the last for those times. We stream about we might talk we talk on average about 3 times a week. So we have a lot of content together. We have a lot of
Okay.
content together. And I don't know much about you, but all her
Hmm.
subscribers and her listeners always telling me about this John Vance. John Vance. Oh, Pelu's the new John Vance. John Vance. So, and she reach out to you. So I had to come reach out to you because I was like, everybody's telling me to come talk to you. Everybody's
Okay.
telling me I need to go talk to John Vance. I need to talk to John Vance. So here I am. I'm talking to John Vance now for everybody.
Okay, so that's okay. Let's start with that. So basically, my association with Claire, right, is maybe your question that you have for me, I guess.
Not really question. I'm just introducing how I know you and how I knew about you. Or I'm just introducing my connection to you. That's it.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, that's quite a long story, but basically, I was just on the internet and I saw Claire's channel and I found it. I agreed with some of her on some of the views as it pertains to like sexual morality, religious discipline. What else could I say? Uh, and just to kind of maybe I guess a nationalist viewpoint as well too. So we agreed on those general principles. Um, and basically, I through that I actually reverted to Islam January 2020. I actually said my shahada, and I'm now a practicing Muslim. Um, so I guess maybe Claire's stream, maybe you could say, had a part in whether you could say is it was Allah's way of using Claire to show me to the true religion, and now I'm a practicing Muslim. So I hope that answers your question. I know I was kind of general, but maybe we'll
No,
start from there.
it's good. We start from there. It's a good start. It's a good
Okay.
start.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna tell you the truth. I have a similar thing. Even though I've been practicing, I converted to Islam in June 13th, um, 2010, 2010.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I'm 10 years before you in this journey of conversion to Islam.
Mm-hmm.
But when I started talking to Claire, when I started talking to Claire, I had seen one of her shows before. I'd seen one of her shows. What I watched a lot of. It was a long stream. I didn't watch the whole thing. I seen one of a stream she was having with this guy. I don't know if you know Vincent Bruno. You
Yeah,
heard?
yeah, I heard of him.
Okay, yeah. So Vincent Bruno is this guy. He's a anti no hide. His whole thing is to be anti no hide. I don't know if you know a lot about no hide, but Claire talks about no hides a lot. You know,
Mhm.
that's the first time I heard Claire. But in that conversation, I was impressed with how she was trying to defend monotheism, even though she was not, a monotheist. So it intrigued me how she was trying to her defense of monotheism. Don't get me wrong. I didn't know her whole program at the time. I didn't know her whole secular Quranist program. I didn't understand the whole thing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I just like the engagement she was having with Bruno in defense of monotheism, as opposed to his not wanting monotheism, or basically what he looks at as monotheistic domination through the no hide laws. How he didn't want it, and her pushback against him. So that's what got me thinking about. But that's what got me interested in her. And that was like a year ago. But then I didn't watch another. I didn't watch another video for a long time, until like a couple months ago. She was having some videos about monotheism and things like that. And I started leaving her comments, say, "Oh, I like your views on monotheism. I like your defense of monotheism." And from there we exchanged some comments, until one day I started streaming with her. And even me at the time, it was a similar thing. I was having some crises in faith, and her streaming did help me reinforce my faith in Islam.
Mm-hmm.
I was having doubts about different things. I mean, I wasn't doubting God. I was doubting which one between Judaism and Islam, which monotheistic is the best. And me talking to her helped me solidify my faith too. So in a way, it's very similar. In a way, we could say we came about. We came into this thing similar. Even though I was been a Muslim for a long time, and like it is, but just that platform of defending monotheism and sort of defending Islam, even though I don't agree with her platform of defending Islam to a certain extent, it was very invigorating, to say the least. Like invigorating, or basically it drew me in. It drew me into Islam, from especially for somebody who does not even a believer. Somebody to take so much interest in Islam. It re-piqued my interest in a way. You know what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
From a
Yeah.
non-believer.
So basically, like, I would interpret it as Allah, used Claire to reinvigorate your faith in Him and His principles and His and in His guidance for you, in His path for you. And I guess the same thing for me. I guess we're similar in that way. So, alhamdulillah, I guess Claire is being used in some form of fashion for Allah. So, praise Allah. Allah Akbar.
I like bar, I like bar, I like bar, I like bar, I like bar. So yeah, no, no, it's true, because even since then, I'm gonna tell you what's happened since then. Since I started talking to her, I actually have see a lot of things weren't working. I actually have I'm not somebody on social media. Like I got a Facebook page. One of the reasons I have a Facebook page is because my cousin made me one. I'm not on social media. I'm not on any things, but I did have a small WhatsApp group called Istikama English word. Istikama means orthodoxy in Arabic. That's the root word for me. And 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 I'm kind of in a small way a missionary. I'm actually a missionary I'm an Islamic missionary, and my school of thought in Islam is called Al Haq wal Istiqama. It's with a majority. We're not Sunni nor Shia. With a majority no man, and we have pockets in North Africa. With the oldest school of Islam, because we're the same school the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, used to follow. And but we have a movement in Africa, and I'm part of the Ghanaian movement. Even though I'm really Sierra Leonean, but I've linked up with the Ghanaian movement, and they want me to branch off to Sierra Leone. But to make a long story short, uh, 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 even my Dawa movement, my Dawa fellowship has been growing since I've been talking to Claire, because I had this one guy. he was in my Dawah fellowship, but he would never really pay attention. He was a Sunni, but then he heard me on Claire defending the Istiqamah position, and then now he. I don't know if he's a complete Istiqamah yet. I mean, I might even have him come on. His name is Tehran. He also streams with us too a lot with Claire, and ever since he heard me talking to Claire and defending my positions about Islam with Claire, he's gotten interested a lot too with Istiqamah Islam, and we've been growing, and he's helping me, and like a lot of stuff. Even though I disagree with Claire, even though 90% of the time I'm coming on an argument with Claire, our interactions are help. Yeah, God is using our interactions, even though the arguments, even though disagreements, they're using our interactions to spread light and spread knowledge and spread other things. So yeah. So I think God is using Claire, even in her rebellion, to do to make certain connections with people, and I've been connected to a lot of people through Claire just by talking to her. A lot of people now know me, are interested in me just from my arguments with Claire online. Even though I sit there arguing with her online, tell her this is wrong, but she's wrong for a reason, because she's trying to find a solution. She's finding the wrong way, but she knows what it is. But her rebellion is forcing a deeper arguments. You know what I'm trying to say? Her rebellion is actually forcing deeper arguments, and these arguments are a tool or a catalyst for a lot of light that's coming in to the world, and even our conversation, me and you talking right now, it's a response to me and some of me and Claire's arguments. That's why me and you talking right now. So good is being done on that front.
Okay. All right. That's something definitely to touch on for sure. I just thought, like, do you know anything about the Canadian Nationalist Party at all? Or have you heard anything about, have you heard about us before? Or have you read anything?
I never know nothing about you. Even Claire in her BPN, I don't know nothing about her BPN and all the I said BPN, BNP. I don't know. I know she was in the BNP because people kept telling me about, go search Claire in her BNP. She's a racist. She's a Nazi. Does this, that, and the third. So I know she was supposedly in the BNP. But she told me that she was a nationalist, and she was supposed to be an expansion. But don't get me wrong. I don't get into all that. Like me, I came on to talk to ideas. Is the only reason I know about it things because every time I've been talking to her, people have been telling me, "Oh, why don't you look up Claire? She's a racist. She's a Nazi. She don't like black people. You know, I'm black." so everybody keep telling me, but me, I tell you, I don't personally care. I'm someone I've been public about it. I've said openly all the time. If a pure Nazi wants to come talk to me and have a sober conversation, we can have a conversation. I don't mind who I'm having a conversation with. I just want to have a sober conversation. I'm gonna have a sober. If you want me to be sober, I'm gonna talk to you. You understand? So I don't get into people's personal lives. I'm not somebody who cares about people's personal lives and what they personally do. And ever since me and Claire's been talking, even though we argue a lot, she's been my friend and we've been nice to each other. So I'm not gonna go nitpick about pictures in her past. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm not gonna nitpick about pictures in her past. Even though I'm black, I don't feel that I had to pigeonhole everybody to pictures they took in the past. You understand?
Yeah. So, what would be your definition of the N-word? Or Nazi, I guess you could say. I could say that, can I? I don't know.
Okay. Okay. I'm not an expert in the subject. Was Nazi? I never. I mean, because it's not
your personal definition. You're right. Means a lot. It means a lot of things to a lot of people. So it's
no. You're right. I'm just giving some context. I just want to give some context. That I don't really know. But I'm a Nazi's a party. It's a nationalist socialist party.
Okay.
Is a nationalist socialist party, and and the philosophy of national socialism. I mean, I know Hitler was the main proponent of it. I think I might have started before him. I think he joined it. I mean, I'm not super expert on the history of the development, but I don't know if I don't think he perfectly started it. But I don't know if he started it or he joined it. But I know he wrote the Mein Kampf book. I never read the Mein Kampf. I never read it, so I don't know what's in it really. I just know from from my perspective, or what I can gather, or basically what has been told to me about it, just a lot of ranting. But some people really like it. But to me, I mean, I've been told just a bunch of ranting. But I don't know. I haven't read Mein Kampf. I've never been
So
interested
would you
in reading
say
Mein Kampf.
would you say it'd be like a German national socialist? Somebody
What?
somebody who might be like a German national socialist.
What about someone who's a German National Socialist?
Yeah,
What about that?
who espouses German national socialism? Would you say that would define a Nazi?
I would think so, for lack of a better term. Yes, because that's what it is. Is the German National Socialist Workers Party, the NSDAP, right? The
Right.
National Socialist Deutschland, Abuta Partei. Something I can't even say it. I can't even say German word for it. Yes.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, it's just that our party has been associated with that label by some people unfairly. But we're not a German National Socialist Party. I think we're definitely a party that falls within within the English Commonwealth. But you know how a lot of people use. I don't know if you're familiar, but a lot of people like to use that term in the West, especially when it comes to like nationalist parties and wanting to maintain a European demographic, and advocating and having an avenue for Euro people to advocate for themselves. And a lot of people would associate that with German National Socialism. So that's basically where I'm from. What do you think about like ethno-nationalism? What's your thoughts? I know you're from America, and Americans seem to they don't like.
I'm gonna answer this. It's a good question. It's a good question, John. Before I answer this question, I'm just reading the chat. I just said my friend Teron Pools on the chat. He said he's completely istiqamah. I said, okay, thank you, Teron. I'm glad you said that. He's completely istiqamah. Okay, so he wants to make sure I know he's completely istiqamah. Okay, so thanks, Teron. I appreciate you saying that, and you know you're my guy all the way. I'm glad that you said this. The first time I heard you say I'm completely istiqamah, and I'm so proud of you. I just want to say that I'm so proud of you right now. Thank you, Teron. Okay.
Does he want to come on as well too? Does he have any questions or anything?
He wants to come on. But yeah, I told him I'm gonna talk to you for a little bit. I'll invite him on later. So, but me, you could talk for a little bit, and then I'll invite him on. I'll invite him on a little bit later. I told him maybe around like 11 o'clock my time, whatever. That's like 10. No, me, you could chop it up for a little bit, and I'll bring him up. I'll bring him on in like 15-20 minutes probably. I'll probably bring him on 15-20 minutes. Okay,
sounds good.
Okay, because I want you to talk to me first because only because the intro of this thing was me and you connected because everybody's been telling that me and you need to talk first and foremost. You know what I'm trying to say? So
for sure.
I want the showdown to happen. I don't mean the showdown in a bad way. I just want us. I want to make that connection. I want to know this Jonathon Vance that everybody's telling me I need to talk to. Right? I need to. Sure. Anyway. Okay, so your question about ethnic nationalism, right? I know a lot about ethnic nationalism, and that's the good thing we want to talk about because I'm also a Commonwealth guy too. I'm actually a Commonwealth citizen myself. And me and she talked about the Commonwealth issue a lot. I actually talked to her about Commonwealth issues a lot. I myself, I'm a Commonwealth citizen, right?
Okay.
I'm a citizen of Commonwealth. I'm a citizen of the Republic of Sierra Leone, which is a Commonwealth Republic, right?
Okay.
My country was a British colony up until 1961. And then from 1961 to 1971, we were still a realm. We were still a British realm with the Queen, with Queen Elizabeth II as our queen until we got taken over by a socialist party called the APC. They instituted a one-party state in Sierra Leone and they abolished the monarchy. You're right.
Oh, okay.
And I've told her why I'm against the APC. I'm against the one party because Claire, she's a one party state person, and I'm totally against it. And I gave her the whole history of Sierra Leone and the APC and how they turned us in. It was a one party socialist government. How I'm against socialism. How I'm against the one party state. That's why I'm against her platform right now as it stands. I'm against her platform because she's calling for a one party state. I told her that I'm totally against that. For those reasons, because I was actually born in a one party state. When I was born in 1986, Sierra Leone was still ruled by the one party APC government, and that's what destroyed my country, and that's why I ended up in America to get away. We ended up to get away from the one party socialist government. My family moved to America when I was a little kid. I was born in Sierra Leone, but I came to America as a little kid, and it was directly result of the calamities caused by one party socialist state. Right.
So did you move to America because it was a non-Commonwealth country, or did you?
We didn't move to America come up because it's America. People move to America as an American dream.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, people move to America because it's America. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right. And you didn't want to move to Canada, another Commonwealth country?
What you said?
You didn't want to move to Canada, another Commonwealth country?
No. Look, okay. See, I myself am a big Commonwealth guy. My parents are not political as me. My parents are not political the way I am, so it's different.
Okay.
You know what I'm trying to say? Their motivation was just coming to America, the American dream, and they want to get out of Sierra Leone. And then a lot of my relatives live here. We don't have too many relatives in Canada, even though I've been to Canada. Because only time I went to Canada, I went to Toronto, because I had close cousins, I had close relatives who were living in a suburb of Toronto called Erinville. I don't know if you've ever been to Erinville. I remember I went to Erinville in Toronto at a time, but they didn't move to Canada. They would live in Canada because they were working there because they're working with Procter and Gamble. They usually do, and Procter and Gamble has bases in Toronto, so they're working for Procter and Gamble. But no. Okay, if you speak about Commonwealth countries, most of my family live in the Commonwealth. They moved to England. A lot of my relatives they live in England. They live in London and Birmingham. Like my dad's brother lived in Birmingham. My uncle, my dad's brother, he lived in Birmingham. Most of my dad's cousins, a lot of my dad's cousins, they live in London. As a matter of fact, my dad's first cousin, Edith Macaulay, she was the mayor of Mertonboro for a long time in the 90s and early 2000s. She was the mayor of Mertonboro. That's a borough in London. It's the same borough that is the same borough with Wimbledon. Where Wimbledon is because Merton used to be two boroughs, Merton and Wimbledon, but Merton swallowed Wimbledon. So but Wimbledon is part of Merton borough. So that's the big landmark in that borough is the Wimbledon tennis tournament. So yeah, okay. So I have a lot of Commonwealth connection. I mean that's the whole conversation we have too. And so I mean that's a good question, this Commonwealth thing. But I want to first answer. I want to first go back to we're talking about ethnic nationalism. Okay,
great.
Yeah. Okay, you're talking about ethnic nationalism and what I think about ethnic nationalism. I'm gonna think interesting about my country, Sierra Leone. My country, Sierra Leone, is actually an ethnic nationalist country. In a way, it's actually a racial nationalist country. Matter of fact, us and our neighboring countries, Sierra Leone and Liberia, are the only two countries that I know of that actually have race laws that require you to be a certain race to be citizen. Sierra Leone, up until now, still has a law, even though it's slowly changing. I'm gonna get back to. I'm gonna tell you why it's changing. It's slowly changing, but even still on this book, constitutionally speaking, a Sierra Leonean has to be at least 1/4 black to be a Sierra Leonean. You have to have at least a Negro grandfather. It says Negro African on the law. That's what the law says, and it's because the Sierra Leone's interesting history. We in our neighbor country Liberia, we have a similar history. We have similar laws because of our history. Because we were countries that were created as settler colonies for blacks to go back to Africa. So it was created particularly with a racial mindset because of what blacks went through in the New World. So when they had to go back, so it was basically they made it a black protectionist state in a way. You understand? They created a black protectionist state. Both Sierra Leone and our sister state Liberia are both black protectionist state. They created to develop and protect the black race because they felt the blacks were being exploited in the West. That's why they had to come back to Africa because my country Sierra Leone was founded after my nation. I mean, when Sierra Leone was founded as a nation state, when Sierra Leone as a nation state was founded, was as a direct result of the American Revolution. During the American Revolution, the British promised any black who fought against the Americans
the American colonists who were rebelling against Britain. If you switch sides to the British side and fought against basically your slave masters, the Americans who are rebelling against Britain, they'll give you free citizenship. So my ancestors were actually the Black Loyalists. I'm a direct descendant of the Black Loyalists who joined the British ranks and fought against the Americans in the American Revolution. Even though America actually ended up winning the revolution and got the independence, the Black Loyalists first had to move to Canada. We first moved to Nova Scotia. We actually first moved to Nova Scotia. We most moved to Nova Scotia for a couple of years, but we didn't like it there because still a lot of racism at the time, and the weather was cold. We didn't like the weather, so then we petitioned for the English to send us back to Africa. So they gave us our own settler colony, the same way how you have the white settler colonies of Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and I don't know, and to a certain extent South Africa. It is the same way. Sierra Leone was actually the black settler colony for the Black Loyalists. So that's how we started. I'm a direct descendant of the Black Loyalist people, and even growing up, like my grandmas, my mom, all the women in my family, they wear sovereign coins all over their neck. I just grew up with Black loyalism. I grew up in a culture deeply entrenched in Black loyalism, even in English institutions, especially Freemasonry. Like I'm a Freemason, and my grandfather's Freemason. My great grandfather, everybody is like a lot of institutions. We have even when I was born, I converted to Islam, but my family's actually Anglican. My family's Anglican. I was when I was an infant, I was baptized in St. George's Cathedral. That's the Pinterest in England. St. George's Cathedral, Sierra Leone, which is part of the Anglican Church of West Africa, in communion with the Archbishop of Canterbury. You understand? So I come from a loyalist background. I come from a Black loyalist background myself. But speaking of ethnic nationalism, Sierra Leone is actually an ethnic national state. Don't get me wrong, I don't agree with how the law is now, because the last president, no, not this administration, last administration, he started giving non-black citizens. He started because we have a significant Lebanese population, Lebanese/Syrian population, and a lot of them have been there for many generations, ever since the late 1800s, and still haven't got full citizenship. And he started giving them passports, giving citizenship, even though the law hasn't changed. So basically, what he did was unconstitutional, but it's not. But the reason why it's not being protested against, or they're not going against him, because they know it has to be changed eventually. But Sierra Leone hasn't decided how they're going to change it, because I don't know what they're gonna do, because they either got to erase the whole laws about you being a Negro, or they got to make a new status, like what I'm thinking they might do, or they should do. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is not 100%. I'm not. This is just one idea. I'm not 100% behind this idea, but my idea right now is have a status of honorary Negro. You can give people status of honorary Negro, where it can still be a black nation, historically black nation, but you give people honorary Negro status, and you say, "Oh, you're honorary Negro," but so you can still have a black identity. Because I mean, because of this story, but then some people want to erase this. But I don't know how they're gonna do that. But I think that's the healthiest way to do it, because a lot of people attach to that black code, the black clause, and I think they should have an honorary Negro status to give non-blacks the ability to get citizenship in Sierra Leone, especially the Lebanese community has been there for generations. Because what's happening now is, the way the Lebanese community negotiated was this: a lot of them used to intermarry, and the ones used to intermarry because in Sierra Leone, to own property, you still have to be a citizen. So they were intermarry, and all the Lebanese community, they'll put their properties in the names of the mixed race kids, because they can own citizenship, because they can be citizenship. But so that's how they do. Because basically the reason why they make that law is to force people to integrate, because they say, oh, you have to be part black or you're not going to be. They don't want non-blacks to be ever be able to get power. So they force you to have to intermarry if you want your kids to have own property and stuff like that. You understand? So
okay.
So it's very interesting. It's very interesting how they do it. It's very interesting how they do it.
It's not a Commonwealth country anymore, correct?
No, it's a completely Commonwealth country. It's completely. It's a Commonwealth Republic.
Okay.
It's a Commonwealth Republic. It's not, it no longer has the monarchy. They abolished the monarchy, but it's still a Commonwealth Republic. It's in the Commonwealth Association. You understand?
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. I see. It's kind of like Canada. It's like, it's not necessarily like a monarchy, but it's like a
no. It's different. It's not like Canada. Let me explain to you, John.
Okay.
Canada is a Commonwealth realm. Right. Mm-hmm. Commonwealth, there's two in the Commonwealth Association. There's two types of nations, right? There's the Commonwealth realms and the Commonwealth republics, right? Okay. And there's one Commonwealth, and it's one kingdom that's in the Commonwealth. That's the kingdom, but it's in the Commonwealth, and that's Malaysia. I know Malaysia is Malaysia's kind of different. Malaysia and I don't know if I think Lesotho and Swaziland too. But to make a long story short. It all started when India wanted to get independence. When India wanted to get independence, they wanted to still be part of the Commonwealth, but they didn't want to keep the crown. Because Canada, New Zealand, Australia, they still retain Queen Elizabeth as their former head of state, right?
Right.
So what happened was when India was the first country when they gained independence, um, and I think so that when they gained independence, they first decided that they were going to they want to maintain India, Pakistan, all the South Asian countries. They said we still want to be part of the Commonwealth. We don't want to be. We want to be a republic. So that's how it started. So since then, the Britain has said, okay, republics can still be in the Commonwealth, even though they don't have the crown. But Canada is different. Canada, even Jamaica, even those Caribbean islands, they still retain the Queen. Like if you go to Jamaica, Bahamas, the Queen of England is still their head of state. They have a governor general the way you have in Canada, but still the head of state. Even Sierra Leone, for the first 10 years of independence, that we still retained the crown as our head of state, but we had a governor general, right? We had a governor general and a prime minister, but then we became a republic in the 70s. For the first 10 years, we after independence, after the instruments of sovereignty were handed over to the Prime Minister Sir Milton Mackay, the first Prime Minister of Leone, when the Duke of Kent come representing the Queen, he came to Sierra Leone and handed over the instrument of sovereignty. We still had the Queen as our Queen all the way until the 70s, until the APC government took over. And the next year later, the Queen came out. I'll see some videos and every stuff. But yeah, but that's how Commonwealth works. The Commonwealth has not all the Commonwealth states has to retain the Queen, but it's still part of the Commonwealth Association. So I'm big on Commonwealth thing because I think the Commonwealth is the future because I envision a reinvigorated Commonwealth. That's why me too. I was a big Brexiteer. I was a huge Brexiteer. I wanted Brexit to happen so bad because I envision a reinvigorated Commonwealth. I envision a reinvigorated Commonwealth. That has an integral. I call it. That's what I call it. I call it integral strategic alliance with the United States. I envision a reinvigorated Commonwealth in an integral strategic alliance with the United States, and I think that's the way forward. I think it has to happen, especially with the rise of China. The only way America can compete with China is the best way for them to compete with China is a reinvigorated Commonwealth in an integral alliance with the United States, because China is just way bigger than America. If you think it's just the manpower, just the manpower alone. America needs more manpower if it's gonna compete. It needs more manpower. And it needs more brains. You're not going to fight a billion brains. A billion brains is not surmountable by 300 million brains. It just is a billion brains is 1 to 4. They have 4 times as many brains operating for their cause, and to compete with them, they need this integral strategic alliance. You put the Commonwealth. You have the inner Commonwealth. The inner Commonwealth, is a Kanzuk, Kanzuk, Canada, Australia, UK. The Five Eyes. The Five Eyes. You have the Five Eyes, and then and then that's the beginning of the integral strategic alliance. It's already sort of in place with the Five Eyes, and then you have the rest of the Commonwealth who's going to add on to that. Like you have your Sierra Leones, you have your Nigerias, you have your even India. As a matter of fact, if a reinvigorated Commonwealth could even help make peace between India and Pakistan, I think a reinvigorated Commonwealth could help make peace between India and Pakistan and slowly tear Pakistan away from its dependency on China. I think a lot could come out of this because I think Pakistan right now, as a Muslim and as Pakistan being the only nuclear Muslim country, I think it has an unhealthy dependency on China right now. And I think a reinvigorated Commonwealth can help bring peace with India, which I think is important because India still has millions and millions of Muslims. Even though it's a Hindu majority country, it still has millions and millions and millions of Muslims. And those people, and we need to reconcile ourselves to India. There needs to be peace. There needs to be peace in Kashmir. It'll help everybody. And even the situation in China right now, the Muslims are not able to have a consolidated front against China and their abuse of the Uyghur people because of this dependency on Chinese trade and Chinese investment. And we need to stop that. And I think a reinvigorated Commonwealth is a bulwark against against the excesses of China. And it has excesses, especially with the Uyghur situation. I'm a big supporter of the Uyghur cause. And I think it needs to, and the Muslims have to develop a strategy to break China's oppressive regime against the Uyghur people, and one way, and I think, and reinvigorate Commonwealth with the strategic, with the integral strategic alliance, is one of those ways to combat it, because nobody else has the power to combat China, really, except for America. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, but I would like to go back to, like, I'm kind of curious. So, like, what's the difference between a Commonwealth republic and like a Commonwealth country, like a who keeps the crown? Like, what set of laws? Like, what's the implication of that? Like, what's the relationship with Her Majesty when you're a republic?
It's nothing different. We part of the Commonwealth. We still have the Commonwealth Court. Like even they still have we still answer the Commonwealth Court is the same thing. The only difference is the Queen and the royalty still go to Sierra Leone on the Commonwealth visits. They still go on tour to Sierra Leone. There's no difference. The only difference is that you have the monarch. It's basically is the only difference is you could say the political culture might be slightly different because it doesn't have the monarch. You might say that. I mean, that's the only difference. But strategically, there's no real difference. I mean, the only thing, there's no real difference really. It's purely symbolic. It's symbolic difference. There's a symbolic difference. Yes, you symbolically still have a queen. You can still say this is my queen. But even Sierra Leone, we still look at the queen almost as even though they're no longer established as we no longer have a monarchy. Don't get me wrong. Sierra Leone should have. It was proper for Sierra Leone to not have the English monarchy as the monarch as it stands, because Sierra Leone, culturally speaking, even though I'm a loyalist myself, I'm a hardcore loyalist. Culturally speaking, the British monarchy as a cultural institution cannot be the head of state of Sierra Leone, only because it's a culturally different country. Sierra Leone is a Muslim majority country first and foremost, and we can't be under a crown that's still beholden to the Church of England. That's one thing. One thing.
Okay.
If they disestablish the church, they just say that's one of my other things I mean, Claire have talked about. I talk about I see the eventual disestablishment of the church, and that's one way to say the monarchy. Because I'm actually a monarchy fan. I believe in the monarchy. Actually, to actually be honest with you, I still think even Sierra Leone as a Commonwealth Republic still benefits from the monarchy, because the monarchy to me is the linchpin of the Commonwealth. Even Commonwealth republics, they still look up to the monarchy. The monarchy is still a symbolic, is basically a brand ambassador for Britain, but it's more than a brand ambassador. It's still the Queen's still the head of the Commonwealth, and it's basically an imperial institution. And I believe in the empire. In the new empire, I believe in the new empire as an integral strategic alliance, and I have my hopes in it as somebody from the Anglosphere, as a Sierra Leonean from the Commonwealth who grew up in America. My hopes in the Anglosphere, because I myself am an English speaker. My hopes are on the success of the Anglosphere. I see it thriving. I see it thriving for my country, because I told you, we're an English speaking country. Most of our expats that either live in America or Britain. We're part of the Commonwealth. We're part of the Atlantic world. So I naturally want the success of the world that I live in. I live in the Atlantic world. I live in the Anglo-Atlantic world, and I would like to see the success of the Anglo-Atlantic world, because since I live in it and I'm from it, and my home nation is part of it too, as an English-speaking Commonwealth nation.
I'm just going to post a link in the chat of the 63 clauses of the Magna Carta. Have you heard of the Magna Carta before?
Of course, I've heard
with it. Okay,
but I've listened to it before. Matter of fact, let me tell you this. There's actually a station called Voices from the Past. Voices from the Past is a YouTube station, and they have a real good enactment of somebody speaking out the whole Magna Carta. It's really good. Voice of the Past. It's a really good YouTube station. I don't know if the guys are Canadian or they're British. I don't know where it's based at, but they do some great work. If you look at Voice of the Past, if you look at Voices of the Past, they have Voice of the Past have it, the Magna Carta, and they is beautifully recited. because it's a station, is a YouTube station dedicated to reciting documents and reciting diaries and reciting these type of things, and they have a beautiful recitation of the Magna Carta. But so I've read the Magna Carta a long time ago. But I have but don't get me wrong. I haven't done a broke down study before. I've listened to it. I've listened to the whole thing before. But have I sat and did a breakdown of it myself? No. So if we were to have a conversation on Magna Carta, you would have to lead me in it because I don't have a personal breakdown of it myself.
Sure. I can give you some information on that. So basically, like the Magna Carta, it was sealed 1215 in the meadows of Runnymede with King John and the 25 barons. This was basically binding document because the barons were upset with King John in that they were taxing him to oblivion, and that also the taxation, there was no representation with it. So they felt like there was some breach of contract, and this was this was also in the making as well too. I think there was a lot of, I think Philip Quoke was later, but I'm trying to think of the guy. But there's also some, I think like some priest that was also going around Europe and then trying to, enact, like trying to get a system that would have like a fail-safe basically if there was a rise in despotism. And that's what King John, like a lot of people didn't like King John, just like, they didn't like him just for like a policy or two, but they didn't like how he was governing as a whole in general. And so that basically was the spirit behind the Magna Carta. It was most recently invoked March 23rd, 2001, as it pertains to the Treaty of Nice. And there's also a transcript too, of basically the letters between Her Majesty and the 25 barons as it pertains to the Treaty of Nice. Is basically a treaty where they felt like the clauses of the Magna Carta would be violated with some of its obligations, and it would also ruin the sovereignty of the British nation. So that was actually most recently invoked March 23rd, 2001. It is subject to modern interpretation. Like some of the clauses in there are kind of outdated. Also, it was translated in Latin as well to English. Like I think there's one clause that talks about scutage. We won't have scutage anymore, but yeah, and there's also some clauses in there too that are not.
Okay, can you please explain to me what is scutage? I don't know what scutage is, and maybe some of our listeners might not know what it is because I personally don't know. So even if it's just me who doesn't know, can you explain scutage?
Scutage, from my understand, it's like castles and hang on. Hang on. I just want to double check that. Just give me 2 seconds. Okay. So here, clause 12, no scutage or aid may be levied in our kingdom without its general consent, unless it is for the ransom of a person, to make our eldest son a knight, and once to marry our eldest daughter. For these purposes are only reasonable aid may be levied. Aids from the city of London are to be treated similarly. Okay, the way I look at it, it's probably like a dowry of some sort. So like I guess like the terminology, I guess I'm saying, it's like no one uses that word scutage anymore, right? But like when I say it's like subject to modern interpretation, so that would be like a dowry of some sort from
okay,
the city of London. You know what I'm saying?
No, I mean, I'm sort of kind of catch it. I don't exactly know what it is, but okay. But what I'm saying is, okay, yeah, because I still don't know what it is, but okay,
hang on, I'll look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, scutage in a feudal society, money paid by a vassal to his lord in lieu of military service. Okay, there we go. That's some more. So basically, it's like it's a tax you pay towards the military. for your protection.
Is it in lieu of military service? So that means the person doesn't want to fight a war, they could pay that instead of fight a war. So then he could use the Lord could use that money to hire a mercenary or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's almost like jizya.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So,
yeah.
Okay. So So I mean, okay. I told you I don't know too much about you, sir. But Claire sent me one video. This was sparked about it, and I think it was the last one you made. Something about the Magna Carta. So what does the Magna Carta have to do with your movement? Like, why are you basing the Magna Carta? And there's a reason why I'm asking this. I want to ask you your basis for your Magna Carta emphasis. What's the basis for your Magna Carta emphasis?
Okay. Where to begin? So basically, how it started was, so we're a federally registered party. We are on the books. Like, you can actually look us up, like, on like registered political parties in Canada. We're legally on the books as a registered party, and so we were trying to gain public access to taxpayer-funded venues in order for us to speak and assemble and recruit new party members and new electors, I guess you could say, or new candidates, I guess. There we go. And we were unconstitutionally excluded from a particular venue, the city of Saskatoon. That's just how it first started. And they cited that the reason why they didn't want us there is our organization was denominational in general. And so in Canada, we do have like a Charter of Freedoms of Rights, and that is the violation of our charter rights when it comes to peaceful assembly and freedom of association. But also, we took it a step further because I said denominational. So denominational either means like political or religious in nature. And the first clause of the Magna Carta states that first, that we have granted to God, and by this present charter we have confirmed for us and our heirs in perpetuity that the English Church shall be free and shall have its rights undiminished and its liberties unimpaired. That we wish is to be observed appears from the fact.
We wish what? We wish what? We wish what to be observed?
Where was it? Oh, yeah. So they want, so basically that your freedom of like religion, freedom of political practice be unimpaired.
It said the church. It said the English Church.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have to be specific when we talk about this thing, because what did it say? He said because go back because if you want to invoke the Magna Carta, you understand when you talk about law, you talk about legislation, every word matters, word matters, and so we got to understand what does it mean by it, because before you talking about, I didn't get what you said, but I first heard you say the rights of the church. Now,
let's see okay, so I'll read it again. First, that we have observed, granted to God, and by this present charter have confirmed for us and our heirs in perpetuity that the English Church shall be free and shall have its rights undiminished and its liberties unimpaired. That we wish this to be observed appears from the fact that our own free will, before the outbreak of the present dispute between us and our barons, we granted and confirmed by the charter the freedom of the church's elections, a right reckoned to be of the greatest necessity and importance to it, and caused this to be confirmed by Pope Innocent III. This freedom we shall observe ourselves, and desire to be observed in good faith by our heirs in perpetuity. So basically, what this saying, so that's a good reason why I need to read all of it. So heirs of perpetuity, and then it also says here, to all free men of our kingdom, we have also granted for us and our heirs forever all the liberties written out below to have and to keep for them and their heirs, for us and our heirs. So Queen Elizabeth is heir of King John.
No, you have to understand. See, they're talking about the church. See. I told you I'm not an expert in Magna Carta, but just by listening to that, those things have been exercised, and those things are exercised by to its completeness by King Henry VIII. In separating the church of the English church from the Catholic Church. See that clause right there, as you read it. I told you, as again disclaimer. I don't know the Magna Carta. I have to go back and research the Magna Carta. I'm not an expert or any way on the Magna Carta, but that excerpt did not any way establish any type of freedom outside of the English Church. It established freedom for an organization. That organization being the English Church, which is now known as the Anglican Church of England. I come from the Anglican Church. I was baptized in the Anglican Church as an infant. I was actually baptized in it, and my family's Anglican. My family's actually Anglicans. That refers to that church and its freedom, and it fully broke free in during the reign of King Henry VIII, as an independent church outside of the jurisdiction of Rome. So I'm trying to figure out.
So basically, like the document itself is like when you swear an oath, like the document itself has formed like the democracy and its laws, and this document supersedes any like parliamentary statutes or policies, and anything that violates. It's the same thing as like the Constitution. Any laws that violate like the Constitution.
It's not necessarily. I'm not an expert at British constitutional law. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But I know Britain does not have a formal written constitution. They have documents, including the Magna Carta, that constitutes what they call the Constitution. But I don't know them to have a formal written constitution, and how you could say that. Like, for example, for us to thoroughly have this conversation, we would have to talk to a qualified barrister in British constitutional law, which is difficult because in Britain, first and foremost, you have the idea of parliamentary supremacy, because these issues are coming up to this day. In Britain itself, you have the ideology of parliamentary sovereignty, that parliament's laws cannot be abrogated by anyone else. Like for example, when I was keeping up with the Brexit situation, these issues were coming up because people are trying to say, how can the new Supreme Court? Because now they have a Supreme Court in Britain. Now they have a Supreme Court in Britain. They didn't have it. Is a recent innovation in Britain, because originally the House of Lords, which is a part of Parliament, was the Supreme Court, was the Supreme Constitutional Court. But now they had a Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court in Britain now is trying to take up the powers of interpreting the British Constitution and saying things are unconstitutional when they're not. And that was one of the issues that happened in the Brexit fiascos that were coming on. And people were trying to say, how can they really say that? Because who gives them the power? What constitution gave them the power to interpret it? Like, what constitution is there to give them the power to interpret the Constitution? It's hard to say in Britain because they have an unwritten constitution. That constitution is by is our presidents and customs. This is why we say in the British Constitution there's two parts. There's the dignified and the efficient. The dignified being the dignified being the Britannic Majesty, the Crown. The efficient being Parliament and the ministers elected therefrom, right?
So, this is a constitutional issue to have a constitutional law. I mean, it's good that that you're doing this, but you have to
And
get
it
lawyers.
actually it specifies at the end. It actually puts it in all caps. To all free men of our kingdom, we have also granted for us and our heirs forever all the liberties written below, to have and to keep from for them and their heirs, and for us and our heirs.
So what are the liberties written below? What are the liberties written below?
So there is 63 clauses. That's the first one. And then there's also clause 61 as well too. I'm just posting it's kind of broken up because you can only post so many characters for one YouTube chat, but I just posted the first clause of the Magna Carta word by word, and so that people know they have a context of what we're talking about. Okay, so there's 63 clauses in the Magna Carta. There's one particular clause. So when you invoke the Magna Carta, you always say in accordance with clause 61. Clause 61, it's kind of a long one, but it talks about, so if there's no redress, so basically like, okay, so how you invoke it is like, you write to Her Majesty about the clause that has been broken and the reasons for it, and the breach of contract from the Crown themselves, because all Crown employees are bound by this document. So either municipal, provincial, or federal government agents, like they don't necessarily have to be like elected officials, but just public officials in general are bound to sworn oath. So that includes police officers as well too. So you basically you write to Her Majesty, and then you wait for 40 days for the redress to be obtained. If there has been no redress obtained, you basically you swear an oath to the 25 barons.
Okay, but I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out what violation of the Magna Carta are you invoking? Well, I still don't. Are you trying to explain the Magna Carta? But that's something that everybody's got to research themselves. I'm trying to figure out what are you evoking, like what are you saying of the Magna Carta?
When one clause is invoked, all clauses are binding because it wasn't necessarily like the original document wasn't made in different clauses. It was all made in one.
No, but
when you invoke one clause, all clauses of the Magna Carta are binding.
I'm trying to figure out what is the point.
So the point is that it is to hold like any like despotic government accountable. So if they're breaking the rules themselves, they need to be held accountable in some way or fashion, right? They just can't be above the law just because they're a certain position, right?
But what law has been broken in your case to you?
So our we were prohibited to we weren't allowed to speak and assemble due to our organization being denominational in nature. Supposedly, that would be of a religious or political sect. We have the letter too. Like it says, like they legit just said your religion is denominational, so therefore we cannot grant you a permit for you to speak and assemble at this public facility. We were excluded from a public facility. That's a key thing too. It was a public facility.
But what makes? But how is that violating the Magna Carta when it talks about the freedom of the church? The freedom of the church.
Then the last part. So to all free men of our kingdom. So that includes political parties, private citizens. So any private citizen of the realm can swear an oath to the 25 barons as well too. if any of the clauses are broken.
That applies to you. I don't understand how the Magna Carta applies. I still don't get it. I really don't get it.
Okay, so it says, to all free men of our kingdom we have also granted for us and our heirs forever all the liberties written out below, to have and to keep for them and their heirs of us and our heirs. So
Okay,
this also extends to citizens of the realm as well too.
But I'm trying to see what does it have to. I still don't understand the violation that you're talking about. I really don't see the violation.
That the organization stated that we are denominational in nature, therefore we were excluded by that.
Yes, but why can they not exclude you? How is the Magna Carta saying they cannot exclude you from what? Like
they can't exclude us. They can't exclude us from public property, from speaking and assembling, especially a federally registered party. And to say that we are denominational in nature violates that, because we're a political party. We're also a religious party as well too. So yeah, so it's basically, it says any political nature, any religious nature, our rights have been violated. So all of the crown employees, they're bound by this document, and if they break the oath, you need to write to Her Majesty, and if Her Majesty doesn't make a redress after 40 days, then you could swear an oath to the 25 barons.
Okay, I don't understand your argument. I really don't understand it, but don't worry about it. I'm gonna move on. I don't understand this part because I'm trying.
Sound like Claire now.
What?
You sound like Claire now. Like what part you don't understand? It says, to all free men of our kingdom.
But what I still understand. What's I gotta do with your party and assembly? If they stopped it from coming to a place. If they said they didn't want you in the place, like, I still don't get it. I don't get it.
It's a public place. It's not a private place. It's a public facility. That's taxpayer funded.
Okay.
You're not supposed to exclude people.
The White House in America is taxpayer funded. But I can't just go to the White House when I want to go to the White House.
Yeah, the White House it's not in a Commonwealth country though. That's different.
Yeah, but you can't. Okay. So if you want to go,
you're kind of thinking of it from American context. I'm thinking of from
no.
We still have a constitutional monarchy here, right?
So let me say this right now. So you're telling me right now, if you want to go to Ottawa and go in a parliament without being without giving express permission to get into the parliament, they're gonna let you inside the parliament building. They're gonna let you in the parliament building in Ottawa. They should let you in because you're a citizen or something. They should let you in parliament.
Yeah, it's open to the public.
It's not open to public.
Are you talking about like the prime minister's One Sussex Drive residence, or are you just talking about just Parliament in general? Because White House is both. Okay, so One Sussex Drive. There's also there is a security gate, and obviously there is a security risk. In Canada, it's kind of weird. It's not like America where it's heavily armed. There's actually one guy in there that was he was a former sergeant in the military, and he was walking around the park where the prime minister resides, and he was walking around with a semi-automatic AK-47, and they're like, hey, isn't that just seems a little weird, doesn't it? Oh yeah, hey, maybe we should get that guy. So it's not like it's secure as the White House or anything like that, where even if you think about jumping the fence, they're gonna you're gonna get shot down by a turret or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a weird. It's a weird cult. There was actually to a point where prime ministers would actually be in a crowd watching hockey game, not even a suite, in a crowd. But that has gone away pretty quick. So
'Cause I'm trying to figure
They're not
out-
very popular nowadays. They probably get attacked now, but like there was like I remember even when I was growing up.
Like,
What?
I'm trying to figure out what's the point, because it's like you
Mhm.
can't just go. These buildings have security. There's a lot of factors going in. I'm trying to figure out.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's definitely like factors, but like the thing is with this one, it was like so clear cut because we're a federally registered party, and
Yeah,
we were
but you can go
excluded
anywhere
from
you
it.
want to go. I mean, okay, don't get me wrong. Okay, I want to move on from this talk only because
Uh-huh.
I think there's a lot more fruitful things we could talk about. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna come back to this later. We're gonna come back to this later. I want to come back to this issue later.
Are you saying it's not binding upon the crown?
No, I just want to come back to the issue later. I want to come back to the issue later because
Okay.
because I just want a conversation to move on, and I don't really understand.
I understand there's definitely like complex like applications, like even when it comes to the Constitution as well. There's definitely like considerations as well, but there's a lot.
I thought I don't want to talk about it because is because I mean because I want our first engagement to be very fruitful, and I want to get to more fruitful things. You understand?
Okay.
I want to get to more fruitful things. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that's probably good. Like gets in the weeds a little bit. Maybe what you're trying to get at. And maybe we can go at it another time. But
yeah, we can have a whole Magna Carta talk at that time. We can have a special. You can come teach me. I still don't get it. I still don't get. I think there's so many nuances to what you're saying. But and don't get me wrong. I don't live in Canada. I live in America. So I mean, so it's a whole different system.
Yeah, it's a different system. So
but I still don't see how you can just go anywhere because America. I still don't see how you. I still don't see your point right now. I don't see it as we speak. I don't see it, but it's okay.
Well, in America, you still have like freedom of association and freedom of
yeah, but people can't just go
and
go. But anyway, to make a long story short, let's move on from the only reason I want to move from that because I think there's ideas we could talk about. And I think some of the ideas we can talk about might help you reframe, not reframe, but just have more things to consider and how you go about. Maybe not this case, but in general, because speaking of constitutions,
mm-hmm.
ever since I've been talking to Claire, I've challenged her with her secular Quranism idea. I gave her a challenge to it, and my challenge to her secular Quranism is called I call it providential constitutionalism. Again, a providential constitutionalism. That's what I call it.
Okay.
I looked at what she was trying to say, and I find a lot of problems with it. Even though a lot of things are not for some of her analysis is I like it. Some of her analysis I like it, but I find the outworkings of her platform I totally disagree with it. And I gave her an improved I gave her what I believe to be an improved platform, an improved way of thinking, and an improved framework, which I call providential constitutionalism.
Mm-hmm.
And this even goes to a lot of what you're talking about with the Magna Carta. It goes even to the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, time with the Constitution of Medina. It goes to the Ten Commandments. It goes to the time of Adam. It goes to the time of Adam. I believe in the rule of law, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a
and
hallmark.
Everybody, even government officials are bound by this oath. Do you believe that?
Listen. I believe in the rule of law, right?
Okay. I don't like how you hesitate there.
I know
when
because
I asked you about government officials.
I know I'm hesitating for a reason. As a reason why I'm hesitating because I'm gonna tell you why I'm hesitating. I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
I believe in the rule of law, but I believe the law is the natural law and it's human law. Humans make law in reflection of the natural law because we're trying to figure out what we're supposed to be doing. So for law for humans is instruction, but it's instruction according to an observation of the natural law. And to properly observe natural law,
we have to observe what nature is, and what I hold nature to be is creation. And by saying creation, I'm implying there's a creator to that creation.
Hmm.
So,
Keepers of
my,
the faith.
what?
They need to be keepers of the faith.
It needs to be keepers. That's okay. Okay, that's what my call because I heard in your last tape the one this Claire showed me about your national faithism, and she told me your national faithism is similar to what I'm saying about providential constitutionalism. So he said maybe I should talk to you about
Okay, sorry. I'll listen. Go ahead.
yeah. Because I didn't see that one last video you had where she was talking about national faithism, and she was like, oh, he maybe I should talk to you because I've been telling her for the whole time about since I met her, I've been telling her about providential constitutionalism as an improvement to what she's talking about with her secular Quranism. I don't agree with secular Quranism because it's not secular, no Quranic, and nothing to do with the Quran. You can't interpret the Quran with your English translation, act like you really know what the Quran says. And not be a scholar of Islam at all, and not be rooted in Hadith. She rejects Hadith, she rejects Sunnah, she rejects Ijma, she rejects everything, and acts like she knows what the Quran's supposed to be talking about. And she doesn't. She's not even a God-fearer. I told her that the Quran starts with is for the God-fearer. It's Hudal Mutaqin. It's a guide for the God-fearer. It's not for your atheistic self. Or your self, how you want to say it. But let me come back to what I was saying about providential constitutionalism. I'm saying that yes, that when humans make laws in the legislature or whatever, or first before we have laws, we have ideas, we have policies that we have ideas that turn to ideology, that turn to policies, that turn into law, right? There's a natural law and there's a law humans make. Human law ideally should reflect natural law. To me, in my way of thinking, I think it should reflect the laws that exist in perpetuity and are permanent and are irresistible. The human law should reflect the irresistible law of God, and the only way to do that is for humans to reflect on God. And I think that humans have tried in the way to do it. I'm not saying that anybody's done it perfectly or this and that. Third. I'm not trying to make a judgment call at this point. I'm just trying to make a broad statement of realization that humans ought organize themselves according to the notion that there is a divine creator that created them, created the laws of the universe, and 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 that creator is in effect in the universe, especially through his laws. And these laws and this creator that makes the natural laws should be reflected on when humans make their laws and their policies to instruct themselves. They would instruct themselves better with the backdrop or the foundation of knowing that there's a creator behind the world that they live in. And so that's why I've developed the ideology of providential constitutionalism. And I'm gonna give you examples of what I see as providential constitutionalism being exposed. And an exposition of providential constitutionalism, to me, one of the greatest expositions of constitutional providential what am I saying? One of the greatest expositions of providential constitutionalism to me is the American Declaration of Independence. If you read, have you read the American Declaration of Independence?
I think once or twice, but maybe you can. I know it's kind of similar. I know like America has like a very similar law structure. Like it's still based off of like the Anglo-Saxon law, even though they absolve themselves from common law. But
no, America is a common law country. American law is the same English common law.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna read for you the declaration. Let me read it for you then. Let me read it.
Sure.
For you. Let me get in my little other thing. Okay, Declaration of Independence. Okay, let me get it for you. Okay.
I have to say too, I appreciate you challenging me on this and asking for like more explanation that is 1,000 times more credible than the current Crown employees who just basically ignore you and pretend it doesn't exist. So this is how the court of law is supposed to be, ladies and gentlemen. Especially if anybody out there who's at that organization, you know who you are. This is how keepers of the faith talk. You know, they don't act like clowns, and they don't evade you or you know, call you mentally ill. Like, they actually address your arguments. So yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're very welcome, sir.
Mhm.
Okay. This is the American Declaration of Congress. Going to archives.org. This is the American Archives, National Archives of America. Right.
Mhm.
According to the National Archives of America. Okay, Declaration of Independence transcript. In Congress, July 4th, 1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume amongst the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. Again,
Mhm.
the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's
Mhm.
God entitle them.
Mhm.
A
Right.
decent respect to the opinions of mankind
Mhm.
requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. So first, the American from the first time America starts, it
Mhm.
starts off in their own declaration from to become independent. It says that what the first thing they call on the first thing they call for their justification is what, the laws of nature and nature's God, right?
Mhm.
With
Mhm.
that from the
Mhm.
very get go, from the first paragraph. Okay, I'm gonna keep going.
Mhm.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, and we hold these truths self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable human rights. I'm sorry, with certain unalienable rights. So again, what that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. So it goes back to the creator right then. It's saying
Mhm.
this is where we gain these rights. These are where these laws come from. These are where rights come from. It comes from the creator. So it's acknowledging from the foundation to properly build a nation, we have to reflect on who gives us the right to build a nation in the first place, and that's God, the
Mhm.
creator. That's my thing. Okay. With certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Mhm.
That to secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it
Mhm.
is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government,
Mhm.
laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Mhm.
So it's telling you from the get go in America, it's telling you that they are making a country, but when they're making a country, making their laws, establishing what is right and what is wrong, and what is their rights as a people, they're saying that the government gets the rights from the people because they're getting the rights from what, the consent of the governed. So the
Mhm.
government is getting consent from the rights of the people. What gives men their rights? They're saying that men get the rights from who? God, the Creator. That's what it's saying. It's saying what?
Mhm.
They are endowed by who? They are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. That means rights that cannot be taken from them. It's coming from God. It's saying that the rights of man come from God and the rights of the state come from man. So ultimately the state has to derive its power from man. So the constitution is by necessarily providential. That's why I'm getting the term providential constitutionalism. And the
Mhm.
reason why I think it's good to have this term, because we need to put our finger on the pulse of reality. To me, providential constitutional, it is a reflection on reality, and the fact is that God is really in control. And if we organize our lives socially and politically to that reality,
we can we can get the best results for humanity, right?
Amen.
Let me continue with the Constitution. I mean the Constitution. Let me continue with the Declaration. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such a form as shall seem most likely to what affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And, accordingly, all experience have shown that mankind is more disposed to suffer while sufferers are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms which they are accustomed. So it's just, it is tell you, and this right there is tell you why we're in the predicament we have now, because a lot of people are used to certain things that might not be good for them, right? They're
Mhm.
used to it, right? They're used to it, and even if you want to be wise, you should always be whenever you're trying to do a revolution or anything, you should always be calculating. You should always calculate the means justify the ends. You have to weigh. So be prudent. I mean, it's a balanced way to do things, right?
Mhm.
But right, but see, but I'm gonna go back to the Constitution, right? Okay, then to right themselves by abolish. Okay, so what it says, and accordingly, all experience have shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But again, but when a long train of abuses and usurpations, but what? But when a long train of abuses and usurpations,
Mhm.
abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably. That means without any distinction, invariably means without this and that, without choice, just one way. Pursuing invariably the same object invents a design to reduce them under absolute despotism.
Mhm.
It is their right, it is
Mhm.
their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. So that's for all
Mhm.
prosperity and everything, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Such,
if you talk like that, you're going to be sent to a mental asylum.
no, you're not. You're not. You're not.
Well, if you act on it, well, in
You're saying
Canada anyway.
I'm saying
Maybe in
crime flow.
America it's better, but in Canada right now, I don't know if you heard, but our leader, he's actually the judge ordered him to see a mental a doctor for practicing his English common law rights. Yeah, that's the nature of the court. Also, the court system too. I don't know if you've heard. It's pretty corrupt in Canada. Like they're actually like shutting down churches due to public health initiatives as well. They're also granting like people to be like the court system. I'm not talking about like a person advocating for something, but I'm talking about like a court system, like the rule of law, is advocating that they actually sentenced this one guy to 6 months in prison for objecting that his daughter shouldn't have gotten puberty blockers to transition into a man, and it wrecked her reproductive glands, and he objected to that, and then I guess he got taken to court. I guess his mom, the mother, took him to court, and now he's going to jail for 6 months for objecting to it. So, yeah, there's definitely reason to believe that the court system, especially in Canada, is very corrupt and is definitely not keepers of the faith. But go on. Sorry, I didn't.
No, you're right. We're
Mm-hmm,
gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about
mm-hmm,
keeping the faith. We'll
mm-hmm,
talk about that.
mm-hmm,
After I read this, I want you to keep that notion to keep the faith. I want you to explain to me the whole keeper the what if keeper the faith is. I want you. I want you to. I want to do a whole. I want to get into that. Even if you don't get into that, I want to have a whole talk about this keeper of the faith concept. Okay.
okay.
I should do want to get into the whole keepers of the faith concept with you. I
Okay.
definitely. But I'm gonna keep reading the Declaration only because I started. So let me finish it because I started it. Right.
Go ahead.
just to give you an exposition of what I think is a great exposition of Providence constitutionalism. There's many more. There's many more expositions from around the world. We go to the mandate of heaven in China, right? That's to me that's an exposition of constitution of Providence constitution. We go to the Constitution of Medina, where the Prophet Muhammad peace and be upon him. We can go to even more modern times. We go to Indonesia and their creation of the Indonesian state on the principles of the principles of Pancasila. There's a lot of ways we could look at this thing, but my whole goal is to have an intellectual revival on legal thought based on the reflection of mankind's dependence on their creator for sustenance, provisions, and every blessing they enjoy. I think we can have a blessed way of thinking and a blessed way of thinking about life and God and our reality, and they could all come together politically and socially for the benefit of everybody. That's my goal behind providential constitutionalism. But let me finish with this American Declaration of Independence. Okay. Okay. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursue invariably the same object, invents a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former system of government. Again, such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. So they're trying to say that they were forced to do this. They had no other choice. So it could become a choice where you forced to change what's going on in Canada. It's going to be a time when you forced to change what's going on, right? The same way these colonies were forced to change what's going on with them. Anyway, let me continue. Okay, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present king of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. Again, the history of the present king of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. The first thing they put, it's not a wonder. I'm just saying one. The first citation is this: he has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. So one of the laws of the most wholesome and public good in Canada would be stop transitioning minors from men to women or women to men, and stop doing these hormone blockers. That's not all wholesome. I don't see that as wholesome. Anyway, he has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people unless those people would relinquish their rights to representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable only to tyrants. And formidable to tyrants only. And formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the repository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness. For what? He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for what? For opposing with manly firmness his invasion on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all dangers of invasion from without and convulsions from within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states
he has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose, obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migration hither, and raising conditions of and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice. What? The administration of justice, the courts. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our peoples and eat out their substance and eat out their substance. I'm sorry, to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept amongst us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has effected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. So he has effected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to what? Our Constitution. What? He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction what? Foreign to our Constitution. So even before the official Declaration of Independence. I mean, this is before the Constitution of America was made. Because before the Constitution was made, we had the Articles of Confederation. Before that, we had nothing, right? So this is even in Declaration of Independence, when America just declared itself independent, it already started talking about its Constitution. So that's what I'm saying. Part of the Constitution starts in America even before the American Constitution even starts. Even from the time of the Declaration of Independence, they're giving an exposition of Providence constitutionalism with American characteristics, even from the get-go, even from the Declaration itself. So that's what I'm coming to illustrate. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and acknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to the acts of pretend legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops amongst us, for protecting them by mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent. That's why in America we had this big thing called taxation without representation. Like me, I live here in DC. I live in DC area. In DC tags, they have taxation without representation because DC is not a state, so it doesn't have representation in Congress. So, but they still get taxed. That's why they're like, why taxation without representation? Anyway, for depriving us in many cases of the benefit of what? Trial by jury. For transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretend offenses. For abolishing what? Please listen to this. For abolishing what? The free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government and enlarging its boundaries as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies. At that time, they're talking about Canada. That's what they're talking about at that time. That was Canada, and because there was like Canada didn't have the same laws, didn't have the full common law at that time, and they were still under like the regular like military law from Britain at that time. And that's exactly what they were talking about at that time. But exactly what you're saying, the American Revolutionary founding fathers are fighting a battle similar to what you're articulating to me about. Because see, the actual American founding fathers were trying to keep English law in America. They felt that their natural born rights as Englishmen were being curtailed by the British administration over them as a colonial force, and they weren't getting the same rights as freeborn Englishmen to have their own rights to their own legislatures and their own laws and their own this, that, and the third. They were trying to fight to keep common law and to fight the free common law they always had as Englishmen. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm always fascinated with Americans because they seem like especially with now what's going on, it seems like they're the only ones that are really actually actively resisting against this like medical tyranny, whereas like countries like Canada, you basically have like puppets and just very corrupt politicians that just violate your religious rights like just for no reason, you know. Yeah, it's very despotic and very and the people too are pretty cowardly too. They're not keepers of the faith either. It's just that's a whole nother issue. But anyway, go on.
No. What you're saying is really good. I'm gonna get back to all that. You're making some great points because you get to get back into the history of Canada and see. I think about Canada. I'm not a Canada expert. Let me act like I'm a Canada expert. But what I gather from Canadian nationalism, a lot of Canadian nationalism is built on being left wing and being not American, and that's why you have this strong liberal presence in Canada. It's even stronger than America, because for as long as I can remember, Canada has always been way more liberal than even America. Even the liberal pockets of America are not as liberal as Canada in many regards. And I think a lot of times Canada has shot itself in the foot, for lack of a better term, in trying to not be America. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's basically, we're like, I just think about that. I mull this over a lot. I'm like, we're just basically like just a British outpost. Like we don't have like an actual identity. We're just kind of like lost at sea, I guess, with our identity. At least Americans, they could say, we had the 13 colonies, the 13 stripes, and the 50 United States. And it's basically like, it seems like America quashes like any like ethnic political. I know nowadays that it's prevalent in some manners, but it like any like invoking American nationalism is like it's like you suppress your race, and you swear an oath to the stars and stripes and the American Constitution and all that.
I mean every day.
But like in Canada, it's like a mosaic. It's like, oh, I'm Ukrainian, Scottish. I'm Métis. I'm English. I'm French. Yeah, no, I have my flag. You have your flag, and it's just like a mosaic. It's not like an actual country. And like the maple leaf, that's a corporate symbol. That's not like representative of anything like political or religious in any sort of fashion. It's just like a shell. Like you see a shell company. Here's a Shell logo. Here's a maple leaf. Oh, it's a natural symbol. Oh, it's a maple leaf. It's just a corporate symbol. It's not really like a real thing. Like I had people like, because I don't know if we switched our flag over to this double cross sun, and with the black and white background to it, as it's the representing of the new dawn and our religious principles. And I've flown that flag before, and I've gotten like a mixed reaction. There's people who are like keepers of the faith who are like, wow, yeah, like, praise God, hallelujah, like your flag. They really like your flag. And there's other people that just absolutely despise it. I had one guy actually said, hey, that's not the maple leaf. Then I asked him, well, what does it mean to be Canadian? And he just got really mad at me. He's like, oh, you and your stupid questions. You should be out here without a mask, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of stupid. And I called him a moral coward because he couldn't defend his position. But most people are moral cowards in Canada nowadays. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like American identity, at least you have like a bedrock, whereas Canadian identity, it's like, it's not really bedrock per se. It never has been. Yeah, like you said, it's just like, we're not American. Okay, whoop-de-doo. Like that doesn't mean anything. It's not something like to really be proud of. Especially when you're cowardly. So it's dissolving pretty. Like if anything, succession in Canada is probably more viable than the United States, I would say, realistically.
Yeah.
But anyway, go on.
Of course, because you've always been had the whole Quebec issue. You've always had that, and no, don't get me wrong. I have ways. I have solutions for Canada. I have really good solutions for Canada.
Okay.
If we get to that, I have really good solutions. Well, not solution. Well, I have really good beginnings of solutions. Beginnings of solutions. Beginnings.
Okay.
I have really good beginnings. If I do say so myself. But yeah, I have really good beginnings of solutions. But just for us to finish this this declaration thing. But the input, everything you said was great. Your input was great. We're gonna get to that. So we're gonna get to all these things. Hold on. For right now, Tehran, if you're still online, Tehran, I told Tehran because I know it was gonna be I didn't know what was going on, but I told Tehran I might let him jump on, but I haven't seen him comment lately. But I can't see if he's still there. You still here, Tehran? Are you still? Send me a chat. Say something in the chat if you're still here. Teron, say something in the chat if you're still here. Okay, Teron? Give me a comment in the chat so I can see if you're still here. And then and if you want to jump on, let's jump on and say something. If you want to, we put a link in the chat if you're still here, Teron. Send a comment. I can't text you or anything like that because I'm on my phone. And so I can't text you or anything like that and say what's up with you. But the only way I know you're here if you put a chat, if you put something in chat. So Teron, put something in the chat if you're still around. Thank you. Anyway, he's still here.
Yeah.
Okay, he said he's still here. Okay, you want to jump on, Teron? You want to jump on? Tell me something to take. You want to jump on? Okay,
as long as he's in good faith, yeah, I'll let him on here, and it's a public forum.
No. Teron's my guy. He's my guy. Okay. He's my guy. He's super good faith. He's super good. But he's in the park with his daughter. He's in the park with his daughter. It's okay. It's okay. He come late. If we okay, that's fine. Because we're still talking. No, we still talking. No, it's okay. Now we can still talk because I just want to give him a chance.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be here for hours talking. So
yeah, we are. We are.
It seems like we're
we're gonna be here for hours talking.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay, so you're gonna read the Declaration Bill of Rights. I don't know if you're almost done or you still have a couple things left to read over.
Yeah. It's okay. I mean, I'm just gonna finish it just because we started. I'm just gonna finish it because we started it.
Absolutely.
That's all. But okay. So I put for abolishing. I'm gonna go back to where we left off. I'm gonna repeat the last part real quick. For abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule to these colonies. For taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments. For suspending our own legislatures and declaring for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with powers to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries. These foreign mercenaries, by the way, these foreign mercenaries, they came from Germany. They're from the Grand Duchy of Hesse. They were Hessian mercenaries. Okay. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens. Taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrection amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In this very stage, in every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humblest terms. Our repeat petitions have been answered only by repeat injuries. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarranted jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of justice and consanguinity. That means share blood. Um, we we must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which announces our separation, and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to who? Who are they appealing to? Appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world. What? So what did they do? We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude. What rectitude? That's even where I get the word even rectitude in Arabic is istikama. That's even my Islamic group is called istikama. For the rectitude of our appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions. Intentions. And that's niyat in Arabic. Niyat. You know the niyat. Whenever you pray, you do niyat. Whenever you do everything, you do niyat. For the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that the United Colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connections between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought be totally dissolved. Is and ought to be totally dissolved. And that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on what? With a firm reliance on the protection of what? Divine providence. What did it say? And for the support of this declaration, again, it's the best part. I mean, it's the last sentence. It's the last sentence of the declaration. The last sentence. It says what? And for the support of this declaration, with firm reliance. In Arabic, it's called it's actually called tawakkul. Tawakkul, when you rely on God. And for the support of this declaration, with firm reliance on the protection of what? On the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other. We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. That's it.
That's how it also talks about Pharisees in Ezekiel. I'm not one for memorizing Bible verses and spitting them off, but I do recall like the general lesson behind like when Ezekiel was dealing with no, it wasn't Ezekiel. It was I think it was Paul. Yeah. Anyway, so when Paul was dealing with like the Pharisees, he accused them of like. Remember, there was a passage saying that, "Woe to you, Pharisees! Why do you break your own law, accusing me of breaking your laws? You're nothing but heretics, and you're not keepers of the faith. You shut out keepers of the faith from how do you say, from realizing from inheriting the King of God. Woe to you! You know, your cup is clean on the outside, but the inside it's dirty and nasty, something like that. But I'm paraphrasing. But yeah, it does talk about, and it also talks about like in the end times, you'll be in the court and you'll basically only have the Holy Spirit left to testify before the Caesar judge, I guess you could say. I know, like in Christian thought, it's like, you have like Caesar's law. Like you could still use Caesar's law to your benefit, but it's not the ultimate authority that you're appealing to. You're ultimately appealing to God, even in the courtroom. So even when judges or people who are so-called representatives of you are inhibiting your rights, you ultimately have to actually pontificate and actually think, okay, so if they are just absolutely just outright ignoring me and they're not actually listening to me at all, or they're just being snakes about what I'm saying and not really addressing my points, or they're not asking me to clarify. They're just looking for an excuse. They're looking for a way out. Because most of the courts, they're snakes, right? You ultimately have to appeal to God in these matters, and that and it actually says in the Bible too that you'll be in prison for speaking thy word. So it's definitely there's definitely some divine providence when these laws are inspired, but obviously the people that inherit our institutions today are not really bound by that. They're bound by something else.
I mean, and my thing is this. I think it starts with people of the grassroots understanding the reality of life, that there is the divine order, and themselves the intellectual curiosity and intellectual rigor to build a sociological platform that can translate themselves to political action to change these things. First, we have to wrap ourselves up. We have to wrap our minds around this first. Once we wrap our minds, wrap our minds around Providence constitutionalism. That's the word I've given to the phenomenon of reality as it relates to the social political understanding of mankind. That's my reflection of reality as it relates to social political reality of mankind. I call it Providential constitutionalism. If people could wrap their minds around it, first put their finger on it, wrap their mind around it, we can have intellectual revival, and people can see what's happening now. First and foremost, we have an intellectual death in the West.
Yeah,
is intellect.
You can't have any conversation of substance with anybody nowadays. Even stuff that should be very important. People still are very less nuanced and just they want to put you in a binary position. You're for it or against it, and these are the ramifications of this. It's just like a divide and conquer kind of thing. But reality isn't just black and white. Sure, you could say reality is black and white, but there's definitely nuances to positions as well too. So, but it seems like our education system is just basically, it just trains people to be you just do this job, you just do this job, you stay in your lane, you don't question anything else, you don't have any higher authority to appeal to, you just do your job, you pay your pension, then you just leave. That's the reality on the ground that I feel especially when I'm interacting with government officials nowadays. They're just in it just for job security. They're not in it to I'm sure there is some people that are actually, you could tell there's some people that are actually in it, and there is a division within the ranks right now, when it comes to government officials in Canada, at least. But I find that most people that go into government, they go in there just to get a stable job. They don't really it's attracting the worst of people. It's not attracting the best and the brightest, which should,
Okay, I'm gonna tell you this right now. From the beginning of time, as I've known it, from my understanding of history and the history of statecraft, that's the nature of bureaucracy. That's the nature of bureaucracy. You can't escape that in bureaucracy. That's kind of why I consider myself a libertarian, what we call in America libertarian. I believe no matter what, that phenomenon is going to be there with bureaucracy, because people like bureaucracy because it's the same way unions and stuff like that. It's almost like it becomes the people in bureaucracy for one thing and one reason only: job security. That's why
Mhm.
people get bureaucracy in the get go, and that's all. And it's always going to be that. I live in the head of like where I live in America is the center of bureaucracy. I live in DC itself. I'm from the capital. That's all I know is bureaucracy. I mean, and it's part of the culture over here, and that's it just is natural. The only way around it is having a political philosophy that minimizes the state. If you you have to marginalize them and minimalize these bureaucrats, and the only way is to have a non-state centered philosophy. And my best solution to a non-state centered philosophy is have a philosophy that's centered on providence. That's why I call the reflection of reality in terms as relates to the social political development of mankind. I'll call it providential constitutionalism. We have a providential mindset and a providential dependency. We'll break the populace will break their dependency on the state, and the state will become a tool of the people instead of the people becoming a tool of the state.
Yeah,
that's my thinking behind providential constitutionalism.
Yeah, you could tell too. Like I think what they want to do with us, they just want to basically they want us to make us dependent upon them and impose this like scientific dictatorship on us and make it like they're trying to break us psychologically. You can tell right now, just because we all know it's fabricated, and I think you know what I mean. But you still have to, we go outside, you still have to wear a mask, or when you go indoors, you still have to wear a mask. You have to, social distance. You can't see your relatives, blah, 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 this, that, right? And it's just like there's some people that are just like they're just gonna accept it no matter what. Like they'll worship government, they'll worship man's government over God until the day they die. And those people to me are dangerous. So when you say people, I don't want like
those people are the majority. So what you gonna do about those people who are the majority? What you gonna do about them?
I think those people, I don't want to be around those people who worship a mortal man. I'm sure we're all guilty of it in some form or fashion, but it's just like it's like a mental disease. It's like a
I know it is. I've asked you a series of questions because is the reason why I'm asking these questions. The reason I'm asking these questions, like actually what you're gonna do about it, because you really can't do nothing about it. And I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm saying this. I'm gonna tell you why I'm saying this. The reason I'm saying and this is all the reason why it's more important for people to develop a mental ideology against it, because I'm trying to develop this providential constitution as a bulwark against what I call hypersecularization. And hypersecularization is all part of the statist ideology and what's going on right now. If we can make a broad-based platform where people can because basically what's going on is people don't want to deal with reality. But I'm trying to make it easy for people to deal with reality instead of not easy not to deal with it. I'm trying to put reality in people's face. I'm trying to make it real easy for people. If you make it simple, saying, look, there is a higher power running the world. Shouldn't we keep in mind a higher power running the world as we conduct our affairs? That's how simple it is. I know that is difficult for a lot of people, right? But I think that's simple enough. I think that's simple enough for enough people, that it could create a bulwark, a synergetic effect. Because you could get Christians, Muslims, Hindus, even some atheists, even some agnostics. You could get a lot of people to at least say there's a higher power in the world.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm just like I try to make I like to complicate things a little bit, but yeah, sometimes just putting things in simple terms, yeah, it does help. But yeah, sometimes I like there's just some things that they need to be a little more nuanced. But yeah, when you're peeling, yeah, it's a basic foundation. It should be it should be definitely contemplated. There should be an inner dialogue when somebody is making a decision on anything of policy, of everyday affairs. That's like we wouldn't be in the situation if there were people having that inner monologue, but it seems to be that has lost on the population nowadays, and even suggesting that some people, they would actually find very offense to that, like, oh, who are you to judge, and like, well, the ultimate judge is the creator itself. He is judging you right now. You can't get away from it. And they think that they can just get away from it forever, like they just get away with their sins forever, and they won't be judged. That's how these people act. And then when they see people of faith, they get really scared, and they just try to run away and think that you're just a problem solver. They just hope they'll get away, so they don't have to deal with you. You know what I mean? Like, have you seen like Project Veritas and what they do?
No, but I've heard the name. I don't know what they are. What is Project Veritas?
So they basically they expose like journalists like doing like doing like libelous actions, like lying about. The most recent one, I guess, the most concrete one I could give you is that there was they do like undercover work, and they were doing undercover work for with the CNN anchor. Forget his name. Jack Dorsey, I think his name was. Yeah, Jack Dorsey. And he was actually, they got him on camera admitting that, that COVID was just basically like hyped up, and it was just that fear sells. And, and the next thing they're going to go on to is climate change, because they can milk climate change for a long time, because, that's been kind of like an ever increasing manufacturer problem, depending on who you talk to. So he actually admitted that they're basically like outright just spewing propaganda. And I think Barack Obama did actually pass a bill, I forget the name of the bill, that allows the media to spew propaganda as opposed to telling the truth to the best of their knowledge. Like, you could say something that you think is true, and then you maybe fact check it later, and like, oh, maybe that I got that wrong. Like, that's not necessarily a sin, but what is a sin is like you knowingly lie. Like you knowingly lie about global warming, or you knowingly emphasize fear and division. That only causes strife. I think the ultimate plan for these globalists is they want a reduced population so they can control and manipulate people into servitude, as opposed to asserting their rights. So,
hey, I'm gonna tell you the truth though. Let me tell you what I noticed, Dad. I think the first thing we gotta do is stop putting the power into a small amount of people by saying there's a globalist, is this and this and that doing it. You understand? The population, the population is worse than the leadership. The average person is worse than the average person outside doesn't even want to think. So why would you blame the leadership for not caring about people who don't even care to think?
That's true. Yeah.
So we have to say, for lack of a better terms, the emperor has no clothes. We have to be able to say it's not the leadership, it's not the 1%, it's not the elite, is the masses of thoughtless people that need to be told that they're thoughtless, and the people who think need to insulate themselves against those people by having their own framework and their own intellectual bulwark against hypersecularity and which ultimately lack of reflection. They need to have their own bulwark against lack of reflection by having a reflective system that many people understand and identify with as possible. And I think a reflective system that many people could agree with and identify as possible is providentialism socially. and we could evolve providentialism from the social aspect all the way to the political aspect to get what I call providential constitutionalism. So we have to start with the intellectual framework and the intellectual movement and an intellectual camp. If we build an intellectual camp, we can make an intellectual big camp. We can have a big tent. I'm trying to make an intellectual big tent of providence. And I think that could be the start of it. And the thing about it, I want it flexible enough that different people from different traditions and different religions, regardless of your theology, could identify with providence and work on providence in their own way, so we can have a synergetic effect and not let theological differences get in between thoughts. In the end of the day, it's about thinking. The more thinking, the better. What's going on is we have a lack of thought. My whole goal is to optimize thought. Because right now it's being minimalized. I'm trying to optimize.
Yeah, optimizing thought. Very important. Have you heard of the book? I know you said you're like a Freemason, but I think it's, what is this book? I'm just gonna try to find it. Oh, here we go. The Uranta book. Uranta, international bestseller. I'm gonna put my camera on.
I heard about it. I mean, what is it? I've heard about it. I've seen clips of it.
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll show you the cover here. Hang on, I'll just put my camera on. Whoa. How do I do it? Oh, this thing's a little weird. I put my camera on. Anyway, oh, there we go. That's why. Here. So the Uranta book. It says on the front here, revealing the mysteries of God, the universe, world history, Jesus, and ourselves. And it just basically it goes into like it's like a compilation of different papers. So it's kind of like structured like a Bible when it comes to like different books being formed into one book. And it just goes into like, it doesn't necessarily like, it talks about like thought adjusters and people who pursue knowledge over people who, who are hedonistic and don't pursue knowledge. And that that's I think we're entering in that kind of age. I think, a lot of people aren't really interested in knowledge, and they just seem to be like I don't know if you walk around, but in
history, has it ever been the majority of people are interested in knowledge? Like how can we say that it's any different than do we really know? I can't tell you 100 years ago people were that much smarter than they are now. I can't tell you that. I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like most of the Christians in Europe, medieval Europe, didn't even read, and that's how they that's how you got the growth of the Catholic Church. Is basically the priest read the Bible for them, and then they looked upon the priest to be their intermediary between them and God. There's an interesting theory that because history is always kind of like written by the victors, right? But there's actually an interesting take on a different view of the conquest of Christian, like when Christians invaded Muslims, that the reason why the Catholic Church ordered the Christian army to invade Muslim lands was that they knew that there was relatives of Jesus that spewed that Jesus wasn't an intermediary. There was no intermediaries between them and God, and they knew that Jesus actually preached that word, and so they wanted. It wasn't just the Muslims, because I could see like the Muslims. Obviously, they don't believe in intermediaries, but also there's a group of Christians like that didn't believe in like the Trinity and intermediaries. So so that's why they put the that's why they ordered the conquest, because they wanted to get those people as well too. So yeah, I view like a lot of like the I don't know if you're familiar with like the right wing nationalist scene in the West, but it seems like a lot of them are like very I'd say, I don't want to use this term very lightly, but they are actually Islamophobic in that they don't actually read the Quran or they don't actually study it. They just kind of like, well, Islam is a brown religion and it's inferior and it doesn't produce anything of value. And but look at all these you know what I mean?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, I'm gonna get into this later because in Islam there's many different ways of thought. Unfortunately, we have ways of thought that deviated from what the Prophet taught, and there's very few Muslims in the world that are keeping what I call istiqamah, which is the true orthodoxy. Is very few of us. So in reality, the large part, a lot of the Islamophobes, their arguments are actually correct. If you look at Islam from the standpoint of Sunnism or Shiism, they're not wrong for not wanting these deviant ideologies in their society. I'm not saying their ideologies are better. I'm not saying the white nationalists or the Islamophobes have anything better. But at the same time, Sunnism and Shiism isn't better than what they're saying. All of them are wrong. But I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to that in a different conversation or later on. All the issues with because that's his own talk. That's his own talk. There's so much we gotta talk about. That's his own talk. That's his own talk right there. That's his own talk. We're gonna get to that one time, but that's his own talk. Because right now, what are we talking about? Because we're talking about right now we're just talking about building a basis
common law and asserting your rights.
Asserting your rights. Okay, yeah. So exactly, I'm trying to say for a revival of common law, which is law from the people, because it's from the commons. Commons is the people, right? Is the commons, right? Hold on. Tehran said, unfortunately, Islam in the West is dominated by Eastern voices. I mean, Tehran, the Western voice ain't that much better neither. I mean, the only voice in Islam is one voice, and that's istiqamah. I'm gonna tell you that right now. That's the only voice in Islam is istiqamah. Every other voice doesn't make istiqamah doesn't know east or west. It's straight. Straight is straight. The straight line is the straight line.
Straight line.
I'm sponsoring a comment from Tehran. I'm just telling the straight line is straight line. Whether you east or the west, we got to be straight. If we're straight, we'll be straight. That's the issue right now. People are not straight; they're crooked. But that's a different conversation. I'm gonna get back to the law because we started with law. All the problem we've seen with law, it first starts with our minds. Before law happens, we have to have an idea. Then from idea we have ideology. From ideology we have policy. From policy we have legislation. Right? We have to start thinking the right way to affect the right policies, to affect the right laws.
Right.
And
I'll stop you in the middle there. So ideology, like we need to also realize, keep in mind to have mercy on your enemy, because I fall in this trap too. It's like, like your enemy just treats you like shit. They ignore you. They want to, do horrible things. They want to tax you to oblivion. They want to destroy your way of life. All those things that definitely invoke anger and revenge. But when you're in the realm of, especially when it's legal, that God frowns upon you clouding your ideological view of that person. So even if they are an enemy, so say like I'm trying an Antifa person for supposedly committing assault on somebody, I still am under the faith that I still have to have mercy on them, that I will follow the legal procedures that come from a higher power to determine whether this person is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, even if they are my ideological opponent. That's the value of mercy. That's the difference between a person who is of faith and a person who is not. A person who is not, they would make all excuses in the world and use all of the litigation and all the legalese to snake themselves out of, addressing your argument. Because what they'll do in court is they won't necessarily ask you to explain it. If you're from a political persuasion, especially if you're from a political, maybe if you're not, I'm not sure about that, but especially if you're from a political persuasion, just by speaking from experience, that they'll do the opposite. They won't ask you to elaborate on it. What they'll do is they will try to use legalese to snake themselves out of it. You know what I mean? And they do that because they do that for ideological purposes. So they subvert the process for their own political gain. You're not supposed to do that in the realm of law. The realm of law is supposed to be divine, shrined, protected, and enforced equally upon equal. All men are equal before, equality before the law, right? But that's not actually being practiced. Equality of the law is not being practiced. So when you say ideology, in the realm of law, that should be taking a back seat when it comes to addressing.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because even what you're saying right now is an ideology. You're saying ideas. The rule of law is an idea. Objectivity is an idea. I'm not saying idea. I'm trying to say ideas can be rooted in reality. The ultimate reality being God. I'm trying to say we have to rethink our ideas by putting God first, putting that there's a power, higher power, and wrap our minds around it. I believe that we have a mind for a reason. We have a mind to connect us to something greater than ourselves, or the transcendent reality. That transcendent reality being God. So, I
mean, it's an idea in itself, but it's still offering equality before the law, right?
That's an ideology. Because it's an idea. It's in your mind. You're talking about it right now. You thought about it, and now you're saying it. So it's an idea. I'm trying to see before ideology. I'm trying to say what should our ideology? The issue is not that we don't have ideas. And what should our ideas be rooted in?
So I got here the definition of ideology is a system of ideas or ideals, especially one of form the basis of economic or political theory and policy. So it's an example of the ideology of democracy.
Exactly. I want an ideology, but I want an ideology of providential constitutionalism. First, providentialism, generally socially, and I want to add constitutionalism to make it a socio-political frame of thinking. It could work in constitutional monarchies as well as constitutional republics.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's an ideology. We have to have the right ideas. I'm trying to get the right ideas. The problem with ideology is that people have the wrong ideas. I'm trying to inform people.
Yeah, okay. For example, I was just thinking about that speech I did. I'm like, I reference ideology. But it's it was a term. It was it wasn't of. I did mention keepers of the faith, but honestly, those people, they wouldn't think about those things that much, honestly. But I think that's why I was appealing to God. I wasn't appealing to anybody else when I made that speech. Sorry, I'm just doing it. But yeah, I guess it is ideas. It's just that I did say ideological subversion. Yeah, maybe something to think about next time. Okay. Yeah, definitely. So anyway, you're saying. Sorry, go ahead.
No. That's what we're here to do. We're here to think. Yeah, I mean, it's good for you today. You know why? Because you're thinking. You know what I'm saying? You're thinking. That's what we need to do. We're going to make a framework that forces people to think, because we're going to have a tsunami of thoughts. I'm trying to initiate a thought tsunami If that makes sense to you. You know what I mean by tsunami?
Yeah.
I want a wave of thought
Mm-hmm.
to hit people, which is irresistible. Because at the end of the day, thought's gonna be irresistible. You think or get conquered. Only thinkers are gonna survive. And if you don't think, you deserve to get conquered because you're not helping us. You're not helping us if you're not thinking right now. So we don't need to have mercy on the thoughtless. No mercy for the thoughtless. Because you don't have mercy for us. Because thinking is mercy. Why do I say thinking is mercy?
Yes.
Thought is mercy. That's where we get the word thoughtfulness. Thoughtfulness is mercy. Thoughtlessness is savagery.
Yeah.
So I want to create a thought process, a thought framework as a bulwark against savagery, aka thoughtlessness.
Okay.
You understand?
I understand. Yes.
That's what we're doing here, and I want you with me. I want everybody with me because it's the reality, and I'm not saying anything that I don't feel that is already in reality. It's our job to ascertain reality to the best of our God-given ability. And I perceive say God-given ability because we have to recognize where our ability to recognize reality, aka our intellect, where it comes from God. So we need to wrap our minds around God, who made our intellect in the first place, for us to wrap around anything. You understand?
I do understand. Yes. And also, like faith. Like what is the definition of faith for you?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. That's a loaded question.
Okay. Do you want me to break it down for you, or what? Like
what?
Like the definition of faith.
That's a woo.
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer that right now. It's so much I want to say, and I don't even. Whew.
Is that okay?
I don't think about it.
You know what it is. It's honestly like I look at faith as like a practice. Like it's not necessarily like you're preaching. Like faith, like preaching faith can be one aspect of it, but another aspect of it is actually living it out and do as you say. You know, that's I guess a form of accountability. That's the way I look at it. Is like I have faith that, you know, I say I'm going to do this, I'm gonna do this. You know, I say I'm going to do a speech in front of a government building. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to. Okay. You know what I mean? I guess that's what I mean. You know what I mean?
No, I totally know what you mean. I totally know. That's why it's hard for me to answer. I totally know what you mean. Okay. I totally hear what you're saying. Totally. The way I respond to it is first I'll respond with truth. First, there's truth. Right? For there to be truth, there needs to be reality. Because how can you say something's true or false if nothing's real? You understand? So the first half truth. Hold on for a second. Hold on. My bad. I was sneezing. Hold on. Anyway, I'm back. Anyway, to first have truth, you have to have reality. So once you have reality, I can say the ultimate reality, God. That's the way I'll put it. But you have to have God first, which is the ultimate objective reality, in order to have any type of objective truth. Once you have truth, you have to have. Okay, faith to me is exactly what we say is a practice. Practice is a commitment to truth.
Right.
Is a commitment to truth. And truth is the ultimate commitment to reality. Reality is the ultimate commitment to God, because God is the ultimate reality. So that's the way I would think about it, and everything else builds upon that. Like having a commitment to something. If you say you're doing something, it should be true what you're saying, or you shouldn't say in the first place. So you say you should live up to what you're saying, or you shouldn't say it in the first place. So that's where accountability and commitments come into place. That's where oaths and contracts come into place.
Right.
You shouldn't say something that you're not that if you don't have the intention to do it in the first place. So make a contract you don't fulfill to fulfill, and if you say you should do it, or what you saying isn't true, and you're not reflecting reality. Yes, because ultimately, I think our job is to reflect reality. That's what I think being a lamp of God is. That's what the Quran calls us. We're supposed to be lamps of God. I know in Judeo-Christian tradition they might say we made it in God's image, but it's the same thing. If God's reality, we should be a reflection of reality. You understand? In
Yeah.
our thoughts, words, and deeds. You understand?
Yes.
Because even in Islam, we call God Al-Haq. Even my ideological camp in Islam is called it's called halak wal istiqama, meaning the people of reality and orthodoxy. Istiqama means orthodoxy, haq means reality, and that's my ideological camp in Islam. But yeah, exactly what you said. Faith is a commitment to truth, ultimately, and is a commitment to ultimate truth. The ultimate truth being God. So action, yeah, is an action, is a commitment, is an intention. It starts with intention. It's a niyat. It's an intention. It's an intention, and it is an intention towards truth. Faith is the intention is the intention to man of man is the intention to truth. Truth being based on the ultimate reality being God. Yes, is an intention. Intention of truth is faith. That's
Right.
that's that's the best way I can say it at this place and time, right as we speak on the spot. That's my best answer on the. That's my best on the spot answer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know a secular thought they have when you talk about faith, there's this stigma about being anti-science, but that's to the contrary. Like the Prophet Muhammad, he predicted like the fetus, like he described the fetus in his experts, and he also described like how the mountains work, like when he talks about tectonic shifting plates going deep within the earth. And this was an illiterate guy in the middle of the desert. How in when there was no modern technology, so how could he know all these things, right? So I always like tell him, like I tell my atheist friends too. It's a really good argument because he's just like, I'm kind of skeptical about God. He's like he's kind of softening up a little bit, but I always tell him like the Prophet Muhammad, he was a literate man who who was he was a successful man, but he gave up all of his riches in order to pursue truth, and but he was cast out, for a while, and but the miracle of it itself is that he came up with all these revelations without actually reading or writing or anything like that. Like he had to get like elders to write out all his prophecy in camel bones and leaves, and that in itself is a miracle. How can you explain that, right? So there's these phenomenons, especially like in the Abrahamic traditions, that you can only describe it as like divine revelation, so that's basically, and then this is where you could say maybe like angels or like Jesus or any of the prophets come in and work through you, and they adjust how you live, because like how you live, how you grow up, it because I grew up like in a secular family, so I wasn't growing up religious, but God chose me for a reason, and so now I'm just kind of like just going step by step, and it's just like God is not like he's not just in like a church or a mosque or a synagogue, but he is within us, and he's working within us all throughout how we deal with our interactions. I hate the concept of like the separation of church and state, because even in whatchamacallit, even in Congress, there is "In God We Trust" above, the
It's everywhere in
where the
America. Even
speaker speaks.
that's the fifth of America, and God we trust. But see,
Mhm.
it's one a separation of church and state is one thing. That separation of God and state. See, I believe in church and
Mhm.
state because I'm not a Christian. I don't believe in Christianity in any way. So,
Right.
but I don't think. See, America. That's what I'm saying. America was really smart by not separating God and state, but it separated church and state. Is a
Mm.
difference.
Right.
They God and state, but they separated church and state. It's a big difference between separating God and state and separating church and state. And I think America got it right by separating church and state, but not separating God and state. Because even to this
Mhm.
day, America's motto is "In God we trust." Anyway, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely there's definitely some corruptions within the church. And I know it comes from a Protestant background where I know, like in Quebec especially, it's quite unique part of North America where they basically had the Catholic Church make their policies and like domestic policies until like 1960s, when it came to like marriage and taxation and um, who can occupy government positions, and stuff like that. And they got rid of it in the 1960s just because they were really upset with the draconian like family laws, I believe. And and so now they have, like, if you go to Quebec now, it's like they emphasize secularism like to a T, like throughout every aspect of the institution. Like I don't know if you know, but they actually introduced a secular bill, um, I believe a couple of years ago, when it came to like banning religious symbols. So that was like banning like the burqa. You can't wear a burqa while you're working for the government in a provincial capacity.
I mean,
I guess that would include not wearing a cross too. So
see, that's a whole conversation you got to have itself. We have a conversation about Quebec and have a conversation about France because France is similar because France has France. See, look, France.
Mhm.
See, what Quebec is doing. I'm not a Quebec expert, but what it sounds like it from what you're saying is what
Mhm.
France does because France has a different type of secularity called it's called laïcité, right?
Mhm.
France had laïcité. And you see, that's the difference between America and France. See, America and even Britain has never had, because Britain's still the Church of England is still the official church in England, at least. I know it's been established in Scotland, but in England is still technically a Christian country and religion is still part of the state. But America did it the best, where America separated church and state, but didn't separate God and state, and that's why I believe in my providential constitutionalism because
Mhm.
it keeps God in state, but without having any but I'm not necessitating any religious establishment. You understand? I'm
Mhm.
keeping, and that's the base of my providential constitutionalism. Is similar to what America is doing because I think there's a big difference between God and state and church and state, and that whole Quebec thing. This reminds me of France. This is how France is because that has the French like it has a French laïcité all over it. It sounds like French. That's the French system, and that's why I think the
Mhm.
Anglosphere and that's one of my things. I think ultimately can nobody defeat the Anglosphere because the Anglosphere has the best ideas if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because
Like maybe not they necessarily have the best people, but they have the best ideas.
they do, they definitely
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
Definitely have the best ideas. They have the
Mhm.
best ideas. They have the best. They have the best way of going about things. The best
Mhm.
strategies. The strategic. The Anglosphere has a strategic advantage over everybody else. To me, in
Mhm.
terms of the way they think. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? The
Yeah.
English thought process has the perfect amount of flexibility. Has the perfect amount of flexibility and the perfect amount of moderation all put together. It has
Mhm.
the right moderations and the right flexibilities put together that enable it to work out difficult situations that other people will be in a bind trying to work out, but
Mhm.
we can work it out
Yeah,
better.
you know what? I myself was a little bit Anglophobic, but I was Anglophobic towards the people. I wasn't necessarily Anglophobic towards the system. and I've come to realize, I think, by the grace of Allah, that common law is the best way to go about establishing a new world of some sorts, as opposed to like any like Quebec separatist laws that might come up, because I don't necessarily see like their form of government really addressing any wrongdoings per se that would hold somebody accountable. I think it's just like it's just it's just like a sick cycle of like like the French Revolution. Like you had the French Revolution basically where you had like proletarian envy, and the proletarian basically rose up and established a new set of laws that that weren't necessarily confined. It was just basically like, if you don't if you ever go against our interests, we're just going to basically rise up. They don't necessarily have like any stop gaps or any any stop gaps before violence. It seems like it's predicated on violence. You know what I mean? It's just like we're just going to go straight. That's probably why you have a lot of like protests in France and in Quebec in some ways, because it's ingrained in that culture to basically go straight to violence, as opposed to like the Anglosphere would be like, I'm going to take you to court, but there's like a process. Before you even take them to court, you're supposed to write them a letter. Okay, I'm trying to get this settlement out of you, so I don't waste the court's resources. But if you don't respond, I'm going to take you to court. And then if you feel, and then you can make your case before the law, and that's with the judge who is a keeper of the faith. And I think most judges are like, it's just like it's so enshrined in the system. But even though a lot of politicians are corrupt, you can always say, well, are they actually following the rules? Can they actually prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they can justify this law? Is there common sense attached to this law? Is there a cause and effect? So like, can you prove that inserting the state of emergency, that the emergency is demonstrably justified beyond a reasonable doubt? If you can, okay, then you can limit our rights. But if you can't, well, then you're in violation of our constitutional rights. You know what I mean? It's very, there's a lot of different ways that you can handle it. Because I don't necessarily, like, a lot of people that like advocate for like civil war and violence as opposed to ideas, I find them to be like, I really find it hard to like talk to people that always advocate for that. Because I'm just like, okay, do you have like an idea after you supposedly win the Civil War, if you really can? And they just kind of like, well, we just don't want. It's a negative. It's like, well, we don't want this, we don't want that. Okay, what do you want then? And then they just kind of, there's not really much there. It's just kind of, look, we don't want these people, and get them out. But it's just like, okay, well, okay, have you tried suing these people? Have you tried, writing them a letter first? I just like, I know it's like, oh, that seems like a cut, but no, it's actually an honorable thing first to do, right? And then you want to try to keep the peace as much as possible, domestically as possible. And
yes, okay.
And there's,
I'm gonna tell you everything you're saying is spot on. Everything you're saying is spot on. I'm gonna tell you what I want to add to that. What I want to add to that is this. I want to add to this. The reason those phenomena, what I would think those phenomena are happening, like how you see in the French system or the Quebec system and things like that. How the phenomenon, what you're saying, is because they don't have a moderating agent in the system. By separating themselves from the church, they separate themselves from the moderating agency, but they haven't replaced it with anything. And that's why American system is so good, and that's why the English system is so good, because even if you take away the church, they still put God in the middle of it. They're still saying God we trust. So it's still a moderating influence of God, and that's the real moderating influence without the corruption of the church. I think we can have God inside of the corruption of church. If the French system, if all the French have to do is do what America does, the English does, and put Mon Dieu, say Mon Dieu, and then say yes, we're gonna have God, and we don't have to have the church. We're just gonna say God. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And they can moderate themselves because even bad, even really I don't agree because okay, me and this guy in this chat, right? He is spiritual members. We also call him Conops, right? He's in the
Yeah.
chat right now. I mean, I don't know if he's chat right now. He said he's going to dinner, but anyway, when he listens to this, he'll know what I'm saying.
Mhm.
One time, me and him were talking on Tehran's platform, and we're talking about racism and apartheid and Nazism. And the interesting thing I brought up is that because he's Dutch, Connors was Dutch. Easily thing I brought up with him, the thing I brought up with him is that even in World War II, with South Africa and the Boers, no matter how racist they were not able to accept apartheid. I mean, I'm sorry, they were not able to accept Nazism. Even though they had apartheid, also they were not able to accept Nazism because Nazism was to them was unchristian. And that goes to show you that even religions that I don't agree with, like Christianity, I don't. I am totally against Christianity, 100%. I'm anti-Trinitarian to the core. But I'm trying to say that most religions, especially ones that have been long established and have been traditionalized, but what I mean by it's become traditions of people. But by them being traditionalized and being your religion, has in effect a moderating effect on the society that is coming. That's why it survived for so long because it has some type of moderating effect and has learned to moderate itself over time, have some type of moderating effect on the people. That even bad religions I don't agree with have some type of moderating effect that you're not going to get a situation like Nazi Germany from South African Boers, from Dutch Boers, because at least the Dutch Boers are rooted in a religion that gave them some type of moderating effect that said something is too much. You know what I'm saying? Religion gives you some type of boundaries that something is too much, and you need that type of boundary that says something's too much, or you always go, or there's nothing stopping you from going overboard, and that's what you're seeing in the French system, in a way. I'm not saying it's extreme as Nazism, but in a way that phenomenon is exactly what you're talking about, and that's what's going on because there's no agreed upon moderating effect. Like in America, no matter what you're saying about America, America still has a moderating effect that most people in America still believe in a higher power. And they still say, "Oh God." Like America, for an industrialized nation, America is is the most religious of all the advanced countries in the world, and there's a reason for that. Because at least, even though they've always separated church from the state, they've always kept God in the state, or the notion of a God, or notion of a higher power. And I think we need to build upon that intellectually and a grassroots level, to have an intellectual framework that we could optimize that reality being God, and optimize our acknowledgement and reflection upon God in social political aspect to improve our statecraft and to improve our social political well-being. So yeah, it's so much to talk about, man. Hey, man,
It seems like you're very knowledgeable on these things. Are you involved in the political process in any way in America right now?
no, not really. Okay, I started thinking about politics hard in the American context, leading up to the 2008 elections. I was a big Ron Paul fanatic. I was a Ron Paul fanatic. Do you know who Ron Paul is?
Yes, yeah, I do. Canada is like you wouldn't believe how infused American culture is in Canada. It's quite
I mean, Canada,
it's like you make arguments like on behalf of Canada of America because we have such similar systems, but political system is a little bit different. And like I said, like the English common law, it's a little bit of a different flavor. But other than that, like the same concepts of like freedom, liberty, maybe not necessarily the pursuit of happiness, but yeah, it's a very similar idea. I guess it would also appeal to some Canadians as well. Yeah.
I was a big Ron Paul fanatic. He got me interested in American politics. Super. I was huge, and even to this day, I still support his son. I still support
Rand Paul. I want Rand Paul to be next president. You know his son, Rand Paul.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I want Rand Paul to be the next president. If Rand Paul was the next president, I would lose my mind. I'll be so happy. I would lose my mind if Rand Paul was the next president. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm loosely a libertarian. I say loosely because there's a libertarian party. I don't really affiliate with the libertarian party. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Even though I did support Gary Johnson, I supported Gary Johnson in 2000 and in 2000 and what year was that? The time Trump won in 2016 going into 17. I supported Gary Johnson just because I didn't want to support Trump.
Mm.
His comments against Islam. I didn't want to support Trump, so I supported Gary Johnson.
Mhm.
Protest as a protest against Trump because I don't support Democrats. I'm not a Democrat. I don't like the Democratic Party. So as I protest against Trump, I supported Gary Johnson
Mhm.
yeah,
This
I'm
was when
loosely
Trump was running as a Democrat.
no when he ran as a Republican when he ran for
Oh,
president.
okay.
I'm talking
Oh,
about when
I thought he ran as a Democrat before.
I don't know when he ran for Democrat. I don't know when that was. I don't know if he ran for president. I don't know. He might have. Maybe a long time ago. I don't know. But
Mm.
I'm talking about when he won.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but before that, I mean, I'm a Rand Paul guy. I'm a libertarian. I'm an ideological libertarian. I'm not necessarily part of the Libertarian Party, but I'm an ideological libertarian. But I'm a moderate libertarian in a way because I think I believe in what I call a moderate libertarian policy, which is I believe the state has a function. The state has a function. I just think the state function needs to be curtailed by popular will and by first and foremost providence. So you could say the same way I'm a providential constitutionalist, I'm a providential libertarian. I'm a providential libertarian. Matter of fact, I'm actually part of an Islamic libertarian organization called the Minaret of Freedom. It's based right here in the DC area. I'm part of the Minaret. It's called the Minaret of Freedom. You can look it up. You can join
Okay.
it to the Minaret of Freedom. Yeah, and ultimately, I believe in you could say I'm semi providential constitutionalist. You could say I'm a libertarian Islamist. I'm a libertarian Islamist.
So there's an Islamic libertarian
Organization.
organization. Amazing.
Yeah. I'm
You
a
know,
lib-
like
as a matter of fact,
I have to say, like most
there was
like
there was a Muslim who ran for the vice president of the Libertarian Party. This guy named Cooley. A name is like William Cooley, something like that. He was a white guy, some white guy, like a little country guy. He had a country beard, he was a little beard. He was Muslim running for the Libertarian. Yeah, I'm a libertarian. I'm a libertarian.
you got your token white guy.
He's like a down south Texas white guy with a beard, but he's a Muslim guy. He's like Tennessee. I think he's like Tennessee. So I think a Tennessee white guy. Anyway, yeah. I'm a libertarian. I'm a libertarian at heart. I'm ideologically a libertarian. And Teron said Trump used to be a Democrat.
Yeah. I knew he used to be a Democrat. Yeah.
But when he ran for president, when he won the presidency, he was a Republican.
Yeah. I was wondering if because I know he was talking about running for president for like a long time, and I know he was associated with the Democratic Party, and I think there was one time he actually ran as Democrat, but he didn't really go anywhere with it.
Yeah. I think he didn't go with nowhere. Yeah. Well, that was the main time I ever campaigned for a candidate was 2000 going to 2008 campaign. And I'm gonna tell you what happened. I'm gonna tell you how I got someone to Ron Paul. Okay, I was always sort of a fiscal conservative, what they call in America fiscal conservative, because I believe that the government should be careful how they spend people's tax money because people work hard for their taxes and they shouldn't just waste people's tax money.
Didn't Ron Paul say there shouldn't be any income tax whatsoever because the income tax was basically introduced? It was supposed to be like a temporary thing, like
temporary thing to pay off war debts, but then people kept it when they invented the Federal Reserve and then they made it permanent. It's basically the income tax became an excuse to have a permanent debt. and that's what and it only came into it only came into to being in a permanent basis after they started the Federal Reserve. So they had a system where where they could borrow from to get in there in the first place. It didn't have the Federal Reserve to run up the debts, the kind of debts they have. The only way they could run up these type of debts if they had if they had income tax to pay off these debts that are running up from the Federal Reserve. But if they didn't have the Federal Reserve in the first place, they wouldn't be able to run the debt to begin with. So yes, the federal the income tax is rooted in basically what people might call a banking conspiracy against America, but it's very nuanced. This argument is very nuanced. It's very nuanced because you have to understand what was going on before. Before America didn't have control. See, the Federal Reserve kind of gave America control. It's so many arguments about it. As a matter of fact, me and my friend were watching this good movie about this joint because we're watching the history of Paul Warburg. He was one of the founders of the Federal Reserve, Paul Warburg, and they were talking about how about the banking and how before the Federal Reserve, America was basically it was basically a British economic puppet at that time. Even though it was economic, even though it had political independent, all the financing was coming through Britain. So no matter, so even though America didn't have this federal, it didn't have a central bank. Everything in America was owned by the British central bank. So basically, it gave the American central bank gave American banking industry leverage over Britain. So there's many ways you argue about it. It's a lot to it. These big time players are fighting wars between each other too. These big bankers are actually in war with each other too. You know that, right? It's many ways to look at this thing because there's so many different sides, there's so many different interests, there's so many different special interests. So I mean that's a conversation in and of itself. That's a whole conversation, and I don't want to get into that now because it's going to be a huge tangent to see how to talk about the whole banking system, how it came about. I wouldn't have it the way they have it because I mean fundamentally interest and riba is not a good thing. I would rather have an Islamic banking system, but it's a whole different story to talk about banking and Islamic banking and all this stuff. That's the conversation we have. I mean, there's many conversations we're going to have over a long run. But let me get back to my story with Ron Paul. Yeah. So leading up to the election for Ron Paul is before I even became a Muslim. I became Muslim in 2010. Before I became a Muslim, I was very into the 9/11 truth movement. The 9/11 truth movement. All right. And I started coming to realize without a shadow of doubt that 9/11 was some type of inside job. Now, people might not agree with me, this, that, and third, but I came to that realization 9/11 was an inside job. Right. And that kind of things that made me very pro-Muslim because I was like, why they lying on these Muslims say they did all this stuff and they didn't do it? But I came to the conclusion 9/11 was an inside job. I started getting into the into the alternative research community. You understand? And I actually ran into a lot of white nationalists in the community because a lot of the conscious cons and everything they overlap with white nationalism. But anyway, I was getting to the 9/11 truth movement and the basic alternative research, what people might call conspiracy theory world. I was into that big time those days. I was into that world big because especially in the main catalyst to getting me into that world was 9/11, right? But I got this 9/11 truth heavy, and then there was one 9/11 truth guy. His name was Aaron Russo. He made a movie called Freedom to Fascism, speaking about the banks and 9/11, all that other stuff, right?
Yeah.
And how everything is part of a big conspiracy from the banks to 9/11 to everything, whatever. But guess what? Guess who we had in this video? He actually had Ron Paul. This is way before he had Ron Paul in the video, and Ron Paul was the only guy in Congress he could get to talk about these issues. And Ron Paul was saying he should audit the Fed and to reinvestigate 9/11. He was the only one in Congress talking about to reinvestigate 9/11. Out of the whole Congress, he's the only one to put bills forth to reinvestigate 9/11. Nobody wanted to. He's the only one who was bold enough to say that. So that was the first thing that drew me to him, right? Cause like, man, out of the whole Congress, he's the only one talking about reinvestigating 9/11. I'm like, man, I need to support him. And of course, he got me into the liberty. I was always a classical liberal. Even before I met Ron Paul, I was a fan of Adam Smith. I was a fan of Thomas Paine. of all these classical liberal thinkers, Ricardo. I mean, not too much Ricardo. I don't know too much about him, but I'm in general speaking, the classical. I was a classical liberal. Now people call liberal today, but classical liberal. I was into the physiocrats. I was into the I was into Georgism. I was into geo-libertarianism. That's like I was because ideally I believe in a single tax. The single tax being land value. I think I think the best and healthiest tax is land value, and by extension, taxes on natural resources, because natural resources and land to me is natural resources are not made by people, are made by God. So that's what we should be taxing, because the state itself is an entrustment of the people from God. So the state should tax what God gave the people, that's land, and the people's work and labor in terms of income should be their own keeping, or as best as possible. While land value should be the land value, natural resources should be the main source of taxation. Also, I believe in corporate taxes. The reason I believe in corporate taxes is because a corporation is not a natural human being. It's an artificial human being, and an artificial person shouldn't have this. I don't think artificial people have the same right as people, and they should be taxed. We should use corporations as an engine for the economy, as engine for taxation, and we should relieve the tax burden on the people by taxing corporations, because they're not natural people to begin with, because it's the state inventions. But
but the thing is, though, they'll offshore. They always find a way to offshore. I guess you have to stopgate for that.
They make laws. The way you do that is favor companies don't offshore. Favorite companies don't offshore, make it difficult for them. But yeah, they can offshore, but you can still make it difficult for them too. I mean, if there's a political will, they can stop all that with the political will. What's going on without political will, and the reason without political will, we're not political savvy. And the reason we're not political savvy because we don't have thought to begin with. We have a lack of thought. I'm trying to stimulate. Yeah. I'm trying to generate thought and optimize thought, because it's lacking. But anyway, yeah. So you're right, but there's ways around all that. They could. I mean, you could say they could do this and that and that, but it's always something. There's a solution for everything if you put your mind to it. I mean, these people are not. These people, the only reason they're able to do what they do because they're thinking about. They're thinking. The problem. The masses. The problem with the masses are not thinking. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So they're getting used by the elites who are thinking, but how can you blame the elites for thinking their way into a better situation for themselves when the masses want to be thoughtless? I can't blame the elite at that point.
Yeah,
you understand?
Yeah.
So yeah. So let me get to back. So yeah. So let me get back to my Ron Paul. So yeah, he was the only one trying to reinvestigate 9/11, and then I got into his way of thinking. And it agreed with everything I said, and that's when I started identifying with the libertarian movement. So Ron Paul is the one who got me politically active in American thought. More broadly, I actually am sort of active in Sierra Leone politics, in the Sierra Leone diaspora politics. I'm a supporter of a minority party in Sierra Leone called the NGC, the National Grand Coalition. We have 4 seats in Parliament right now. We're minor opposition in Parliament right now, but I'm a member of them. The leader of the party, he was actually a neighbor of ours in Sierra Leone, and he actually came to my sister's funeral when she died. So he showed us a lot of love. He's very close to us. So I support him because he's a family friend of ours, and his party is good. It's a nationalist party. And the thing about our party, our central philosophy is interpartisanship. We know that because Sierra Leone is divided. The parties are divided on basically divided on along ethnical regional lines, and our goal is interpartisanship. We have a Sierra Leone first nationalistic ideology, and it's a right wing party, it's a nationalist party, but Sierra Leone nationalism is good because it's built on liberty, because we're supposed to be landed free. Our capital is called Freetown. We're supposed to be free in general. So our nationalism, Sierra Leone nationalism, is built on the idea of being free, because we're created to be a place for blacks to be free. So we have basically a libertarian nationalist philosophy. We're not a socialist party. We're anti-socialist, but we work with all the parties, even the opposition. We have our ideology is to have a constructive opposition. We're not here to be obstructive to the ruling party. We're here to be constructive. All our opposition be constructive. We don't argue just to argue. We argue for the benefit of the people. With anything the ruling party says that we agree with, we support them, and we ask them to do more of it. Everything we disagree with it, we go against them. We support the opposition. We're constructive. We're interpartisan, and we're interpartisan, and we're constitutionalists. So yeah, I have a lot of political ambitions. Even me myself. I grew up in America my life, but I'm only a resident alien. I never got full citizenship because I don't want to be a dual citizen. Not that I don't like America. I'm the most pro-American person you find, but in my country, if you're a dual citizen, you can't get a seat in parliament. I want to get a seat in parliament one day, or hopefully even better than that, even more than that. I have bigger ambition than that, but at least get a seat in parliament. So yeah, I'm politically motivated. I'm politically active. I'm more active on the intellectual side.
I know, like in the American system, it's kind of like you have to fall basically. I know there's different parties, but you have to fall into like either Republican or Democrat, and you're just like a different flavor of one. I know in Canada it's a little bit different. It is a little bit more liberty in Canada in that you can represent yourself and you'll get more coverage and you'll actually be considered credible in the system, as opposed to like America, which is kind of, to me anyway, from an outsider's perspective, that if you start your own party in America, it's like you basically get swept under the rug in the political scene, and you just basically have these like different organizations. You know what I mean?
In America, that's true. But but it could change. It could change. For now, generally speaking, that's true, because the culture in American mentality, because people just don't want to support third parties. People have mentality. If people have the mentality that if you support a third party, you're wasting your vote. That's their mentality in America. That's why third parties, it's hard for third parties to grow. But it doesn't mean third parties should stop. I mean, it's going to be a time we're going to realize that we might need a third party. You understand?
I know, like a lot of people were saying that Trump should start his own party, the Patriot Party.
A lot of people think he should start it. Do I think? Yeah, he should. He should. Because someone like him can actually start a party, but he ultimately, if he starts the party, the Republicans are going to lose an election, and that's what happened before. I'm gonna tell you what happened before. That's similar to what happened to the to Theodore Roosevelt and the Bull Moose Party. He split the Republican vote when he started the Bull Moose Party, because Theodore Roosevelt tried to do that, and he started a party called the Bull Moose Party, and then that's how I think Woodrow Wilson. That's how Woodrow Wilson. I forgot what Democrat won that time, but anyway, yeah. But don't get me wrong. I mean, we need a consistent third party. We need a consistent third party. We don't need just Trump's trying to put third party. We need a party that's going to keep going. That's why we need a Libertarian Party or something like that. But Libertarian Party, the thing about Libertarian Party, a lot of people are very cuckoo. That's the thing about them. A lot of them are just irrational libertarians. We need a rationalist Libertarian Party we need or at least a rationalist faction within the Libertarian Party to emerge independently. I mean, but because a white nationalist party or what's going to look like a white nationalist party is not going to work in America. It's not going to work. It's just
something
not
like that might actually, like, if you maybe get rid of the word white, like something like that in Canada would probably work, to tell you honest truth. Like an ethnic based party. That's basically Canada. That it's ethnic politics. It's enshrined in our law. It's enshrined in our democracy. It's just like a mosaic of like different like ethnic groups competing in under the banner of the maple leaf. You know what I mean? Like the maple leaf means like so many different things to so many different people. Like it's not really uniting, but like America is united. It's like a force to be reckoned with. Whereas Canada is just like I don't know. It seems like it's just falling to pieces. And,
I heard you saying, but see where you see falling to pieces, I see opportunity. There's opportunity in that. I see opportunity.
Oh yeah, there's definitely opportunity here for sure. Like honestly, like you being a political party and actually getting credibility from the system carries a lot of weight to it, which I think maybe this is why the establishment has been so heavy-handed with us, even with us only getting like less than 1% of the vote. Because I don't know if you've heard, but like our party leader Travis Patron was actually charged with hate speech, and not really many people in our history has been charged with that, with the hate speech allegation.
I don't absolutely nothing know your party. Everything you're telling me is what you know. I don't know anything about your party or anything. I don't know anything.
He basically made like a video a couple years ago where he was basically saying like he said, these people who walk among us, you can walk right past them, you wouldn't notice it. You know, they profit from our wars, they seek to control us, and we're just a number to them. And if they had their way, they would eradicate our way of life as we see it. And he basically described these people as the parasitic tribe. I'm just paraphrasing, but this is the video that he made. And then this is where the authorities cropped up, and they
who's the parasitic tribe? Who's he returning to? Who's he referring to?
It's up for interpretation. It's not an identifiable group, but it's a collection of people who are all levels of government who seek to destroy our way of life, which is actually coming true. So
I don't believe true. I believe that. I believe the masses of people are parasitic to themselves. I believe the masses of people are parasitic. I believe there's very few people who actually drive in the world.
You can interpret that way too. Yeah, that's definitely one way to interpret it as well. Yeah.
I think the masses of people are more parasitic. I think it's small people. I think a small amount of the world is driving everybody forward. Most people are not thinking. So it's hard for me to say. I think that I don't blame the elites. I blame the masses.
Definitely. I mean, the elites wouldn't get away with it. Look,
see, I thought this is what I tell Claire all the time. I say politicians, anytime you see a corrupt politician, all you're seeing is a corruption manager. That's all they are. They're corruption managers. The people are way more corrupt than they are. The corrupt politician is managing corruption. That's what he's doing. He's a corruption manager. He's a corrupt person in the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I know what you mean, because when you speak truth and you're forthright, it seems to really irk a lot of people, because it just really brings up a lot of their inadequacies that they thought were dealt with. You know what I mean? Like, you'll see a lot of I just like the age of the internet. Like, I don't even know. There's so many different tangents I can go on for this, but that's part of my autism. But maybe I'll try to focus it. So focus it on corrupt people. Why are they corrupt? Because they lost the faith. They don't practice faith anymore. You could say part of it is they don't go to church, but also another part of that is that the church basically is like a window dressing at this point. It's not really there driving policy. It's just basically there to advocate for the state, no matter what, following Caesar's laws, no matter what. I don't know if you heard, but there was actually a church in Grace in Alberta. It's called Grace Life Church. They actually followed their faith. They actually practice in their faith, and their pastor actually was sent to jail because he wouldn't reject anybody in his congregation, because you're supposed to have a limited capacity to prevent the spread of what. And they arrested him, and they held him in custody for 2 months because he wouldn't agree to any of their conditions, which was having a limited capacity.
But listen.
Yeah.
We have to separate emergency measures. I'm not saying I agree with every emergency measures, but we have to separate the issue of emergency measures from freedom. In life, there's going to be I'm not saying I tell you I'm a libertarian. I don't agree with the emergency measures, but we have to have a separation that there is such thing as emergency measures.
Right, and in the court of law, they don't necessarily take that into consideration. Like they don't take it on face value, even if it's from a government. Like any emergency measures, they don't take that face value in the court of law. It's like, okay, can you prove this beyond a reasonable doubt that this is justified? Where's your data, right? And they've been actually pretty evasive in these matters, especially Jason Kenney's government is trying to backdate the court date in order for them to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that that it was a public health emergency to shut down the Grace Life Church. Like they know that they have no grounding to stand on, so they're trying to evade it. Like they're acting like snakes. You know what I'm saying? They're not keepers of the faith. They're just basically like, they might be, I don't know, you could say they're puppet masters, or they might be somebody from behind the scenes that are like, if you don't do this, bad things are going to happen to you or your family, like stuff like that. I wouldn't doubt that for one bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna get into that case. We're gonna study the cases, but John, let's talk again. I'm getting really tired because I'm sorry.
Does Tehran want to make his case? I don't want to.
Yeah. I think Tehran busy. If Tehran wants to come on. That's the last. Okay. Hey, Tehran, do you want to come on? Tehran, you want to come on? Say something on the chat. You want to come on? Because I gotta get some rest because I gotta go back to work again. Because I work overnight and I want to get some sleep before I gotta get back to work again. So, but if Tehran wants to come, I'll stay on for a little bit. If Tehran wants to come, I'll stay on for another half hour if Tehran comes up. But if not that, because I want to, I want to do this again. We can do this next week too if you want to. We can do this next Sunday too.
Yeah, I'll do a little bit more reading and maybe. Yeah, it can be I want to try to make these conversation as constructive as possible. I know it can get off in different tangents. Your brain go whoo, like going all over the place. But I know I'm trying to stop myself. Like, okay, let's try to make a concise case, because in the law of in the legal realm, you want to make your case as concise as possible. So let's maybe if we talk next time, I'll focus on it too, because I'm kind of, I go off on different tangents sometimes. Focus on making your concise case and proving it beyond a reasonable doubt as the ethos of our conversations.
Okay. He said, He said he come on. Yeah, I want you to come on, Tehran, only because I want you. I want you to come on because he would be a good person to come on your show too, because Tehran actually does he didn't do it yesterday, but most Saturdays he does his stream most Saturday evenings, but most times I'm at work. I can't participate as much, but I try to come on sometime, but me and him. I said I'll do a midweek special with him one time, because this Wednesday I'm supposed to do a book review this Wednesday about some Islamic literature, but I actually want to get you offline though. I actually want to get you in my Islamic group, because you're still a Muslim, right?
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so I want to get you in my Islamic group. I'm gonna put you in my Islamic group. Okay. I have Islamic WhatsApp chat. I'm gonna put you in that, and we could talk over that. And I would love to have you if you want to. I would love to have you with me in my Islamic group. Okay, it's called Istiqama. I would love to have you in my Islamic group. So but that's offline. I'll say everything on Messenger. And we could talk. I'll put you in my WhatsApp group. It's a WhatsApp group, and Tehran's part of it too. But I want Tehran to come on, introduce yourself, because he does a live on Saturdays, and maybe you could join him on his live too. You could join him on his live, because you're different, and it's good to have different voices. You know what I'm saying? It's good to have different voices and different people, and you'll add something different that will make it show. He's had some good guests lately. Last week he had a good guy, and the week before that he had a great guy. You'll be great for his live show. That's what I want. That's what I want to get. That's what I want him to get. And I stream with him because I don't make my own personal content. I'm not a content creator. I don't do my own content, but I support my friends who do content. I support Claire. I support Tehran's,
and us now you're one of my no, you're part of my network now of support. So I'm gonna be making contact with you now, and I don't do my own content, but he's one of the main guys to do content with. He's in my Islamic group, so that's why I want him to come on and make his introduction. So Tarang,
Do you want me to send the link in the chat?
Yeah, put a link in the chat. Put a link in the chat so Tarang can come on for a second. And I told him to come on. He'd been waiting, and he was he's been sitting there for a long time because he's my YouTube guy. Like I don't do my own YouTube. He's my YouTube guy. Because I rather support him because he was doing YouTube before, and then there's no point in reinventing the wheel. I mean, I rather build him up. I build you up too. Let's build up a network of people who want to think. He's a sober-minded person. Let him think. Tehran.
Hey, peace, people. What's up?
Peace be upon you. Walaikum salam.
Yeah, man. I thought this was a good chat. I can't believe you guys been at it for like 3 hours. It seemed like it was shorter.
No, yeah.
But no, yeah, I didn't have anything to say. I've actually been wanting to introduce myself to you, Jonathan, a while ago because Claire turned me on to your channel.
Okay.
And I mean, actually, I don't know if you watched any of her previous lives recently, but she had a guy on there from Quebec, white Muslim dude, Rob. I know him. He is with Islam for Europeans. And Claire, from her engagement with him and her engagement with you, saw that there was a lot of overlap between you two, and things in your aims and objectives. So yeah, that's really the only thing I wanted to say, man. I think you guys had a really good conversation. I really don't have anything to add to it. I will have more to say the more we engage. Like Pelu let you know, I tend to go live on Saturday evenings. And like him, I'm just trying to connect with like-minded people who think, because yeah, really that's it, man. Unless you have any questions for me.
Yeah, so this person he had on, what kind of objectives did she mention specifically, that would be similar to mine, I guess?
Okay, well, that he's not an ethno-nationalist. He is a Muslim, a practicing Sunni Muslim. He's not an ethno-nationalist, but he is a little disheartened by the way Islam is being portrayed in the West. That, like what you mentioned previously, that it's typically a brown religion. He doesn't like how Islam is being portrayed towards white Canadians, white Americans, white Europeans. That is mostly a brown religion. And his aim and objective is to push back against that, as well as push back on liberal, extreme leftism, extreme liberalism, and things like that. I sent him a message and a link to this live. I don't know if he watched a bit or if he even seen it. But
yeah, I had like up to 5 people watching, so that's pretty.
Yeah, so maybe eventually, if I talk to him, or maybe you guys can interview him, or you guys can have a live chat. I think that would be interesting because I can't say exactly all what Claire laid out concerning the overlap between you two, but the one thing that she mentioned, that you were Muslim, he was Muslim. He's more Western centric, not a Muslim, a convert who tends to focus mostly on the East. He's mostly Western centered, and that you were mostly Western centered. And so, yeah, I was just seeing if maybe you guys could establish some type of connection.
And
for sure,
I like to talk to him too. Because I would love to talk to him too, because I missed, because last time when you talked was around this time, but see when Claire does her first talk with somebody, I didn't want to start saying let me on because I want to give her a chance to sell her secular Quranism to him, because she's not gonna be happy that she can how to sell her secular Quranism. So I try to give her a chance to make a pitch, but by the time she
by the time she opened it up for me to come, I fall asleep because I told you, like, on the weekends I work, so I work overnight on the weekend, so I get tired. Like, that's why now I'm tired. But I fell asleep before she opened it up because I was waiting for. I was giving her time to make a pitch before I said let me get on. But by the time she opened it up, it was I already fell asleep, so I missed them. But I'll talk to Rob too. I love to see what he thinks about providential constitutionalism, just ideas about political. I mean, I know he come from a more Sunni perspective, but politically, I think he might connect with a lot of the ideas that we're putting up politically in terms of providence, constitutionalism, and trying to do that. I think my providential constitutional idea is a bridge to a lot of different people, whether you're Shia, Sunni, Muslim, or Christian, Buddhist. Jew, whatever. A lot of people could agree to providence. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, that's what attracted me to it. Just like what you called it, an overarching umbrella. You know what I'm saying? That really covers all of the faiths. And I don't see how anybody from Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, who could disagree with providential constitution, unless they believe in like a monolithic way of being or thinking, having everybody being the same. But yeah, man. And another thing about that, a lot of converts are pigeonholed into Sunniism. You know what I'm saying? So I really wouldn't be taken back by someone being a Sunni, especially if they're a convert, because most people just come into Islam not knowing that there's other schools of thought. So, and Sunni is just like the default.
I know. See, even John. I'm gonna make John join our group. He could join the group. I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna tell you what we need. I'm gonna tell you what we need, Tehran. I'm gonna get John. I'm gonna tell you what we need. Dawood. We need Dawood in the group. We need that group in the Instagram English room. We need him.
I'll send him. I'll talk to him. I was actually talking to him earlier. Me and him were debating about major sins and Muslims leaving, reprobate, unrepentant Muslims leaving hellfire. So me and him were,
Okay.
But I'll add him. He's definitely somebody who has a lot of questions. He asks a lot of questions, and if he disagrees with something, he's not shy in letting you know.
Nah, it's good. He's better than you know who. He's better than you know who. I'm gonna give you his name. He's better than you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know exactly who you're talking about.
No matter how you say it. Okay, if we can have who and all his problems, we can definitely have Dawood. Dawood is a gentleman. He's a gentleman. He's an intellectual.
Yeah, no, he is a gentleman. He's a gentleman.
He's in a whole different level of quality than certain people we have. He's a whole different level.
Yeah, man. I don't. It's something with Germans. I know other dude we're thinking about is German too, but they are very thoughtful and inquisitive. And I think the other dude we're thinking about just goes the wrong way about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But also I think Dawood is more our age, bro. And I don't know if other dude is if the other dude is how old he is.
No, he's still an adult. He's still over 21. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, true.
He's still an adult. Yeah, okay, if he's 21, he's still an adult.
True. Yeah, so we can establish like more talks like this, man.
Over 20. Yeah. Oh yeah. If we establish more talk like this, what's gonna happen?
Nah, we gain some traction. Hopefully, change the minds of people. I mean, already. I don't know. I think that a lot of people feel the way that we feel concerning a lot of the topics you guys discuss, but a lot of people are scared to come out and say it because, like Pelu mentioned, all the time we talk about the people up top and how they have the most control, and then the movers and shakers. But really, it's the unthinking masses that are the movers and shakers. They might not be moving and shaking in the way we want them to, but yeah, they're definitely. But yeah, anyway, I think if we can galvanize that part, grassroots, just get people discussing the topics you guys were discussing, and just galvanize people. Yeah, I see this going really far. Sorry, I'm kind of distracted because I'm watching my kids at the same time, and I'm trying to stay focused on what I'm talking about. But yeah, man, just excuse me if it comes across as rambling.
Nah, you perfect. You perfect. Good, you good. I mean, I just wanted the introduction to happen so we can move on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But
Hey,
more
do you have?
scheduled topics, though. I think we need to get away from the rant. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jonathan. I'm just going to
Sure.
say this. I think we, at least for myself, looking at my lives, the ones that I've conducted, try to move away from just random topics. You know, try to actually have like an organized, something that we're all on the same topic discussing, not just 1 minute we're talking about this, then next minute it's something else. If we can.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was saying. Is like like maybe next talk we'll have like a discussion and we'll stick to a topic and if we're not sure on something, we can just do research so we can bolster our points as opposed to deflecting into a different topic, which it seems like it's a default thing to do, but I think it's a habit that we need to try to get rid of for sure.
Definitely.
I'll be honest with you. I think this conversation we try a lot of time when we could have stayed on. We could have veered off. I remember I kept saying, okay, I don't want to get into that because it go too far off. So I think we did a decent job of being coherent. I think we did do a decent job, and I'm gonna say what I think to Ron. I think both ways applies. For example, that's exactly why I said I want to do a special look. I think we can have both. I think we can have open sessions and also have program sessions. Like for example, I told Teron, I know I can't be with you most of the time on the Saturday session because of my work schedule. But if we do a midweek special, we could do a more program thing. So what I say is that me and what's him talking about now. This was an open talk. This is the first time we talking. This is open talk. I don't mind us having open talks, but then what we could do is if we find a good topic, we can have a special and have a special talk like this. The same way I said. The same way I said with you. Okay, this Wednesday, let's do a special on the book review. So we could do special. We could do both. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be either or. You know what I'm saying? Because the reason why I say that because I know I'm not gonna do a bunch of program stuff, but so because but if we could do either or, we could pick and choose things. I mean, it don't have to be one way. It could be open and then program, open and program, and we can mix it up. We don't gotta have that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just know for myself, I can go. I can be all over the place if you give me free reign. That's why I'm just for myself. I'm just trying to control it.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of us, cause we know a lot about different things, but I'm just thinking of like, think of it like maybe you can have some streams where pretend that you're like in a courtroom and you're making a case before the judge. And whatever that topic may be, you want to make the best concise case as possible. You don't want to go off into like different tangents. You want to have the end in mind, and then you make your case. You can make your detailed case as much as possible within that realm, and then from there you can go back and forth within that structure. You know what I mean? And then from that, it trains your mind to be like a little bit more disciplined, and not. I know it's just like it's like once you don't, at least with this, if you don't know something, you can look it up, research it. And I think I did that a couple times during the stream. Just look it up, research it, and then oh, okay, so this is what I mean. This is the definition. And this is what I mean by this. And so it'll enhance your argumentative skills. You building up your discipline, and you want to be more concise and more and more understandable. Even if that person doesn't agree with you or is trying to ignore you, at least they'll understand you very concisely. We're to a point where they have no option but to acknowledge your argument, as opposed to if you go off in different tangents, they'll be like, oh, I don't know what you mean by that, right? So at least you give them no other option but to address the argument. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else to say, Teron?
No, I don't have anything else. No, yeah, you're saying correct.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, I appreciate that too, because people butcher my name like the first couple of times. So you saying it correctly, spot on. I appreciate it.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I like to end this off in a prayer, if that's all right with you guys.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So thank you, Heavenly Father, here for bringing in Mr. Pelu and Tehran Pool here today to further in your to have a further understanding of your guidance and your wisdom to carry out your kingdom of heaven, and that we also ask for your protection right now for any of our detractors who are trying to deceive us and go us and drive us into paths that don't suit your agenda. And God, that we ask for to bring down your angels and give us guidance and wisdom and the will to carry out thy name. God willing, amen.
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 I mean. Perfect.
Yeah, that was perfect.
All right.
Yeah, later.
All right. Thank you, guys. And we'll do it again. Maybe we'll do some, like we'll go in the other chat rooms here and discuss any other further topics. But we'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, please
Of
just
course.
send your contact information to Pelu, and you can still engage with us in the
In the chat,
Istakama
yeah.
group.
Okay, so you have like that's your YouTube channel, Tehran Pelu.
Pool, Tehran Pool. That's the name.
Yeah, Pool. Yeah.
Oh, Pool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, just subscribe to my channel. It's under this name.
Okay, sounds good. I will do
and
that.
I've subscribed to yours too. So yeah, and
Okay.
we could try to plan and plot and put some things together.
For sure. I'll definitely have to check out your channel for sure.
All right, cool, man. Thank you.
Alrighty, okay. I'll sign off. Until then, peace out.
Peace.
Peace.